Yes.
We're live. Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's the planning board meeting of February 2nd, 2022. Actually, if you look at the numbers, it's 2/2/22 tonight. Anyway, just an aside. This evening is myself, Cesar Manfredi as chair, Mike Smith, Dan McGillicuddy, Lori Davidowitz, Kevin Thurman, and Mike Bofuco is in the wings as an alternate. Sarah Palermo is the gatekeeper. Marianne Stessage is the village attorney. Ed Marin is the village building inspector. And Doug Hahn is from Hahn Engineering is off tonight, and taking his place is William Angelello as the engineer for the village. Sarah, we have taxes all squared away
Yes.
in the minutes from January 5th, 2022.
They're ready for approval.
Does anybody on the board have comment on the minutes? Take that as a no from everyone. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of January 5th, 2022?
Motion to approve the minutes.
We got a second somewhere?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? No opposed noted. So the minutes are passed. Okay, we will go through the lineup for this evening. Number 1 will be 10 Hancock Place. Number 2 will be Maravira Castle Road. Number 3 will be 120 Sycamore Lane. Number 4 will be 49 Field Terrace. Number 5 will be 61 Butterwood Lane West. Number 6 will be Matthew McCarthy at 84 Fargo Lane. Number 7 is 11 Hancock Place. Number 8 is 75 North Broadway. Number 9 is 45 Station Road. Number 10 is 3 Dow's Lane. Number 11 is 20 Elm Park. For anybody that doesn't know where Elm Park is, it doesn't show up on Google Maps. It's off Dearman Street, off of the south side of Main Street. Number 12 is 39 Beechwood Road. Okay, going to number 1.
You're on 13, 14 Barney Park.
Oh yeah, 13, sorry, good catch. 14 Barney Park, number 13. Well, seat number 13 might be unlucky because I forgot about it. Okay. Going to number 1, which is 2021-08. It's 11 Hancock Place. We have an applicant ready to proceed.
It's 10 Hancock Place, Caesar.
Yeah, you said 10 Hancock was number 1 and 11 was number 7.
Okay, yes. Oh boy, I'm making mistakes tonight. Well, if that's the only mistakes I make, that'll be fine. 2021-08, 10 Hancock Place.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, James Kraft from Studio Park representing Richard Hancock for 10 Hancock, or Richard Pascoe for 10 Hancock, sorry.
Yeah. We had you go to the ZBA. How'd you do?
Yeah, well, we haven't addressed the ZBA immediately, so we've decided to just come back to you to clarify and then go to the ZBA next month.
Okay. I guess the outstanding issue was screening the pool equipment.
Correct. Besides that, we clarified just what work was being done versus what was actually done, and then, or what is proposed to be done. And then subsequently, we provided some screening details at the request of the landscape architect so that nothing would be seen, so.
Okay, and I understand that you withdrew the generator permit.
That is correct.
And you removed the generator pad.
Correct. The pad was never installed and we removed it from our coverage diagram so that it was not included. So it slightly changed the square footage, but it was a very minimal change.
Okay, it seems like from my notes that you satisfied what we talked about at the last meeting. I'd like to poll the board. Any comment? Mike Smith,
No further questions.
Dan,
No further questions as well.
Lori,
No questions, thanks.
Evan,
No, thank you.
Sarah, anything in the public with a hand raised or a chat?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
Did I hear you that you said no hands raised, correct?
No, no hands.
Okay. Mary Ann, do we have a resolution for
Yeah.
approval?
Whereas in April 2021, Richard Pasco received variances and site development plan approval to construct a pool patio and walks at their house at 10 Hancock Place. And whereas the applicants seek to revise the location of the pool equipment pad, and whereas the revised plan requires a coverage variance from the zoning board of appeals for an additional 33 square feet. Han Engineering reviewed the plans, and in a memorandum dated January 4th, 2022, listed several items which were addressed in a subsequent submission. Suzanne Nolan, the village's landscape consultant, reviewed the plans and made one recommendation, which was addressed to her satisfaction. Planning board held a public hearing on the application on January 5th and February 2nd, 2022. It's a type 2 action under SECR and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board grants the application for site development plan approval of the improvements reflected in the drawings entitled RPH 10 Hancock Place, Irvington, prepared by Studio Park, subject to receiving a coverage variance from the ZBA.
Thank you. Any comment from the board? Okay, I'd like to poll for a vote. I'm Caesar Manfredi. I vote yes and authorize Sarah to sign my name. Mike Smith,
I approve and I authorize Sarah to sign for me.
Dan McKillicott,
I approve and designate Sarah to sign for me.
Lori,
Approve and designate Sarah to sign on my behalf.
and Kevin.
I vote in favor and authorize Sarah.
Okay, we're done with that.
Very much, everybody. Have a good evening.
Good.
You
Thank
too.
you very much for everything. And I'm sorry a small change had to take another meeting, but good luck at the ZBA.
No worries. Thank you, guys.
All right, we're going to number 2, 2021-27, Maravira, Castle Road. Come on, David. After 5 months, thought you'd be anxious to join us.
It takes time for me to promote all these panelists.
There we go.
You're blaming me? I'm sitting here waiting to get in. You can't blame me.
You got your team there? I
Yes,
see
we
Mark.
do. We'll be very brief. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board, David Steinmetz from the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz. We're here with our full team. I will spare you the introductions, and I will make you all happy by telling you we have no affirmative presentation for you this evening. We have worked tirelessly with staff over the last several weeks to try to get everything in order. We are here to answer any questions you may have, and we are optimistic that we can proceed, that you can proceed hopefully to a resolution. So we're happy to answer any questions. Again, we want to extend our thanks to Mary Ann Stessich, to Ed Marin, and to the Hahn office and all the work that they have put in, as well as Suzanne Nolan in working with us. And I guess I should extend some thanks to Chet for continuing to coordinate with all of us as cooperatively as I think he and we can.
Okay, just to bring everybody up to date, last meeting in January, we had a resolution to approve the environmental assessment form, and we had a resolution to approve the preliminary subdivision plat. And today we're going to be looking at a resolution for the final subdivision plat and the resolution, maybe a combined resolution if I recall, limited site development plan. With that said, where we are, I like, as long as we're thanking, I'd like to thank the Caduzzi family and their team for the cooperation in working with several special requirements made from the planning board, such as the vegetative strip, the conservation easement buffer, and the increased setbacks beyond code that were all implemented to mitigate impacts on Horsey Pond. There was also something over 200 signatures on a spreadsheet with one-liners or two-liners, and they were easy to read and insightful and to the point. All those people who took the effort, it's amazing to get 200 people interested in anything. It was worthwhile. With that said, any comments from the board? Mike?
No comments.
Dan?
I have no comments. Thank you.
Laurie?
No comments.
Kevin?
No, thank you.
Sarah, anything in the public?
Yes, Chet Kerr is raising his hand to speak.
Good evening. This is Chet Kerr, and I just thank you. I've got two quick questions. I had sent in, and I just wanted to get an update. I had sent in some comments to David and Marianne about the conservation buffer easement agreement, and then a couple of suggestions about the drawings. And I was just curious whether or not they were implemented or not, or whatever. But other than that, I also would like to say thank you to the Gaduzzi family and Mark Steinmetz for a very thoughtful approach to this whole thing. So those are my only questions.
Marianne?
Yeah, well, the changes, most of the changes to the conservation, or all of the changes to the conservation buffer agreement were just essentially in the nature of typos, and those were made, not exactly typos, but it's a couple times it said conservation buffer property instead of conservation buffer. So for consistency, those were changed. Casey, was there I don't think there was a change in the drawing, was there?
No.
It was John that wanted to change, but we looked at all of them and felt that the documents were clear enough. But you did raise that. We looked at every issue you raised and made the changes where we thought it was necessary.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
The changes are really almost in the nature of typographical correction. So there was no substantive changes, not to minimize Chet's changes, but just so you don't think there were any substantive changes, there weren't.
And that's correct. My changes were merely kind of suggestion about language, but no substantive changes. So I thank you, Marianne. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. And Sarah, any other public?
Yes, there is one other person. They're only identified as Kathy.
If there's a Kathy out there, you're welcome to speak.
You're on mute, Kathy.
Kathy, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
No, it's staying on mute, Caesar, so.
She just typed.
Sarah, you got something typed?
Not allowing me to unmute. Try hitting Alt-A, see if that works.
Also, I'm clicking the ask to unmute button.
She said, I'm in a phone. It's Kathy Devens.
She's obviously on her phone. Maybe she can.
Yeah, we
Type
know.
her question.
She says, I am neighbor. Yeah, she's in the property right next door on the other side of the path. Why don't you type your question since we can't hear you?
Go into, what is it, chat, and type your question in chat.
Yeah, it's just where she's had the other ones. So, okay, it said the previous builder left drainage issues. That's her comment. The previous builder, Mr.
All right.
Gaduzzi, left drainage issues.
Well, this part of the process, the drainage is really on a per lot basis. When when any one of the 3 lots come in, there will be a drainage plan. Our village policy is that all drainage has to remain on the property, and there will be sufficient retention and detention systems on the property of each lot to keep the drainage proper and from running into into Halsey Pond. In addition, anything on the pervious, like the grass, that's why we have a vegetative strip in the conservation easement to provide retention and treatment of anything running off the pervious areas such as grass. The impervious, such as the driveways and roof, will be retained in stormwater retention systems. I hope that answers your question.
Here's the rest of what she has. She goes, the bottom of driveway floods never corrected. I would like them to correct their work. The house at bottom of driveway has bad problems with drains. And it says Mr. Gout in, I don't know what that means. Drains do not work, neighbor floods.
Ed, you know what she's talking about?
There's some private drainage on the other side of the pathway. That's the only thing I can think of. That's not a village entity or a village basin.
Is that the little turnaround at the end with that 23 Lewis, in front of 23 Lewis? There's the driveway that goes to the house with the yellow door.
It could be. It could be.
Okay, now she further writes, I have letter from Mr. Gaduzzi to my dad that he put in drains. Mr. G put in these drains on my property.
And they might have been part of the original subdivision, but that's in the past. And it could just need maintenance. It hadn't been maintained for years.
Could be street drains.
It collects drainage from the fire lane, which is also a private road, and the property that just received its building permit.
Okay. So
Yes,
that's drainage issues unrelated to this project, if I'm reading it correctly, Ed.
I believe so.
Right, if Kathy, if you have a problem with drainage, contact Ed Marin at the building department. If there's an existing drainage problem unrelated to this property that we're approving or reviewing and approving, he would, if there's something that can be done, Ed Marin is fairly capable of taking care of things like this.
Yeah, we've looked at it before and deemed it to be private, Caesar, which we can't.
Who owns
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
who owns the private?
I believe, I don't know the house number off the top of my head. I think it's the one that we issued the permit for, 34.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kathy, for your thoughts. And I'm sure Ed will look into it. Okay, anything else out there, Sarah?
there's nobody raising their hand to speak, but Kathy is still typing in the chat. I'm trying to remember where Marianne left off.
Yeah, it was same builder. I have multiple times, same builder. He has not. It was put on my dad's property by Gaduzzi, caused big problems.
Well, if something in the past is causing a problem, it needs to be, it's not part of this project. Not that, William, do you see any drainage issues that we haven't talked about?
As part of this subdivision approval? No, I think we've looked at it.
You looked at which? The drainage for this project?
Yes.
Okay, if it's unrelated to this project, it has to be dealt separately. Thank you, Kathy. And I'm sorry if you have some drainage problems, but that would be something that to address with the building department. First thing at your convenience. Okay, let's move along. And Mary Ann, do you have any resolutions?
I do, and I'm gonna apologize to everybody. It's long.
Now-
And some of it's repetitive of last time, but it's the resolution.
Caesar, it's Lori. I just want to make one comment about that, Kathy. She did type in the chat again, and I am sympathetic to a homeowner that feels that they are not getting answers from the building department. She wrote that the building department has not helped. So I'm just wondering if there is a way for Ed to address this. And if it is private property and it does go back to Mr. Gaduzzi's father, who did put this development in, if there can be some kind of neighborly get together to help resolve her problem before there's more construction. I know it's not related to this project. I won't vote any differently, but I see that she's frustrated. She's continuing to add into the chat. And I personally would like to see some recognition that the building department help her resolve this problem, even if it's private property and it means going to the neighbors.
Lori, we are not allowed to work on private property.
I'm not asking you to work on it. I'm just asking you to help her come to a resolution.
Ed, you will at least look at it.
We've looked at it, Caesar. We've looked at it with the architect.
Well, maybe Mr. Gaduzzi, if they do go into construction there, would be willing to meet with a neighbor to help resolve this. For me, it's a neighborly issue, and it just makes me uncomfortable that someone is upset for this many years.
Okay. Mary Ann?
Yeah, it would be
Mary Ann, to be clear, this is one resolution or two?
yes, I'm just gonna read the title. The planning board decision granting final subdivision plat approval and limited site development plat approval. Whereas in 1979, Maravira Corporation received site development plan approval inter alia to build 14 townhouses and tennis courts on a 4.42 acre parcel it owns on Castle Road. And whereas in conjunction with that approval and the approval of the adjacent Maravira single-family residential subdivision, Maravira dedicated to the Village of Irvington an approximately 14.2 acre area, including what is now known as Halsey Park, for park preservation and open space purposes to be enjoyed by the community in perpetuity. And whereas 30 years later, Maravira applied to the planning board to build the townhouses, but the application was rejected because it did not comply with existing zoning laws. Maravira challenged the village's decision in litigation, which was finally decided by the appellate division of the Supreme Court, which upheld the village's determination that the 30-year-old approval had expired. In May 2020, Maravira applied to the planning board for site capacity determination, subdivision approval, and limited site development plan approval for the parcel under the current village code. On June 3rd, 2020, the planning board determined that the parcel had a site capacity of 3 lots. The document submitted in support of the May 2020 application for subdivision and limited site development plan approval showed that the water main serving the 3 proposed lots and the other lots included in the 1979 site development plan approval was constructed, located, and operational on the parcel, not in the street where it had been approved by the village in 1979. In August 2020, village staff advised Maravira that it must submit proof from the Westchester County Department of Health that DOH approved the location of the water line outside of the street. On April 7th, 2021, DOH sent a letter advising Maravira and the village that it could not issue an approval for construction of the water main in that location. In July 2021, Maravira submitted a revised application for subdivision and limited site development plan approval, which sought approval for 3 lots, all fronting on Castle Road and backing up to Halsey Pond. And the revised application shows that the existing water main would be abandoned and a new public water main would be installed in the Castle Road right-of-way. A portion of the existing water main runs along a portion of the neighboring parcel for Castle Road owned by Barry and Patricia Litkowski, and relocation of the water main will require access to the Litkowski's property, therefore requiring a temporary construction access agreement. Because the proposed lots border on the village pathway surrounding Halsey Pond, as well as the village's access way from Palliser Road to Halsey Pond Park, the planning board directed Maravira to create a conservation buffer along the rear lot lines of the 3 lots and along the eastern lot line of Lot 1, which directive Maravira complied with. The conservation buffer included in Maravira's subdivision plan and limited site development plan will serve as a vegetative buffer to protect the water quality of Halsey Pond and to mitigate visual impacts on the bucolic setting of Halsey Pond. Maravira and the planning board have come to an agreement on the terms of a conservation buffer easement agreement, the text of which is annexed to this resolution as Exhibit 1, and which will require approval by the Village Board of Trustees. Maravira has submitted a conceptual landscape plan, which has been reviewed with Suzanne Nolan, the village's landscape consultant, and revised to comply with her suggestions. Whereas the village's landscape consultant will continue review over development of the conservation buffer. A sanitary sewer main owned and operated by the Village of Irvington traverses the parcel, as well as a portion of the neighboring parcel, Forecastle Road, owned by the Litkowskis, but no written easement could be located. And Maravira and the village, and according to Maravira, the Litkowskis have come to an agreement on the terms of a sewer line easement agreement, the text of which is annexed to this resolution is Exhibit 2, which easement will enable said sewer line to remain in its current location and which will require approval by the Village Board of Trustees. The Litkowskis have been using a 950 square foot, approximately 12-foot wide portion of the Maravira parcel to access their driveway on Forecastle Road, but no written easement exists. Maravira has advised the planning board that it has come to agreement with the Litkowskis on the terms of a written driveway easement. Han Engineering reviewed various plans and supporting materials submitted by Maravira, as well as the proposed preliminary subdivision plat, and in memoranda dated July 6th, August 30th, October 5th, November 2nd, November 26th, 2021, and January 4th, 2022, listed a number of items which were addressed in subsequent submissions. The planning board held a public hearing on the application on July 7th, September 1st, October 6th, November 3rd, and December 1st, 2021, and January 5th and February 2nd, 2022. The planning board received extensive correspondence and public input from village residents and organizations, including the Greater Irvington Land Trust and from Scenic Hudson, Inc., all of which it considered carefully. On October 23rd, 2021, the planning board conducted a site visit of the parcel and the access way from Palliser Road and the village's trailway along Halsey Pond. On January 5th, 2022, the planning board reviewed the State Environmental Quality Review Act environmental assessment form for the proposed subdivision and limited site development plan approvals and determined, taking into account the mitigation measures included in the proposed limited site development plan and the subdivision plat, that there would be no adverse environmental impacts and therefore issued a negative declaration under SECRA. On January 5th, 2022, the planning board determined that the proposed new lots will generate the need for additional recreational facilities in the village, but that suitable recreational facilities cannot properly be located on the subdivision plan and therefore required a 30,000 fee in lieu of parkland. On January 5th, 2022, the planning board granted preliminary subdivision approval to the preliminary subdivision plat proposed from Maravira Corp. Prepared by T.C. Merritt's Land Surveyors, and was a document submitted by Maravira in support of its application for final subdivision plat approval, satisfy the requirements of section 188.22 of the village code, and was a properly noticed public hearing on the final subdivision plat was held on February 2nd, 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board approves the final subdivision plat prepared for Maravira Corporation, prepared by T.C. Merritt's Land Surveyors, last dated January 4th, 2022, and grants limited site development plan approval to the plans consisting of the limited site development plan for Maravira Corp. Prepared by Cronin Engineering, and the conceptual landscape plan, conservation buffer, prepared by JMC Site Development Consultants, and the tree removal and preservation plan for the conservation buffer. Those are all the things in the limited site plan approval. Subject to the following conditions. 1, prior to the planning board chairperson signing the final plat, Maravira shall submit proof of approval and endorsement of the plat by the Westchester County Department of Health. 2, prior to the planning board chairperson signing the final plat, the 30,000 fee in lieu of parkland required by the village code must be paid to the village. Prior to the planning board chairperson signing the final plat, Maravira shall submit proof that the conservation buffer easement agreement in substantially the same form as in Exhibit 1 was approved and executed by the Village Board of Trustees in Maravira, and that the sewer line easement agreement in substantially the same form as in Exhibit 2 was executed by the Village Board of Trustees, the Litkovskis, and Maravira. 4, prior to the planning board chairperson signing the final plat, Maravira shall submit proof that a driveway easement and a temporary construction access agreement were executed by Maravira and the Litkovskis, or the subsequent owners of 4 Castle Road. 5, within 30 days after the final subdivision plat is filed with the Westchester County Clerk, the conservation buffer agreement in substantially the same form as Exhibit 1 and the sewer line easement agreement in substantially the same form as Exhibit 2 must be filed in the office of the Westchester County Clerk, Division of Land Records. 6, within 30 days after the final subdivision plat is filed with the Westchester County Clerk, an easement for the shared driveway must be filed in the office of the Westchester County Clerk, Division of Land Records. 7, no building or structure or other improvements may be constructed on any of the lots until the planning board issues freshwater wetland permits where required and grants final site development plan approval for any such construction on the respective lots, at which time location of the house, footprint, layout, driveway, landscaping, and other structures and improvements will be determined. 8, all area requirements of the zoning code must be complied with, except the primary and secondary buildings as defined in this paragraph shall be constructed only within the primary building area and secondary building area respectively, as delineated on the buildable areas plan, except that secondary buildings may also be constructed within the primary building area. For purposes of this resolution, primary buildings shall include dwelling, garage, and paved parking area, and secondary buildings shall include any building or structure permitted under the village code other than those specified as primary buildings. 9, to the extent the definition of primary building or secondary building conflicts with any of the definitions set forth in the zoning code, the definitions set forth in this resolution shall govern. The precise boundaries and limitations of the primary building area and secondary building area may be modified during the final site development plan approval process at the request of an applicant, provided the planning board in its sole discretion determines that the modification is necessary and appropriate based on such factors as site conditions, visibility, construction feasibility, engineering, environmental mitigation, or similar factors, and that such modification will not be detrimental to Halsey Pond and or Halsey Pond Park. 11, the conservation buffer, which is 40 feet wide at the rear of all 3 properties and 20 feet wide at the 25 feet wide, the east side of lot 1, shall be subject to the terms and conditions of the conservation buffer easement agreement between Maravira Corporation and the Village of Irvington. 12, there's only 14, so I'm almost there. 12, before a building permit may be issued for any of the approved lots, the portion of the conservation buffer on such lot must be improved in accordance with the approved landscape plan, subject to review and confirmation by the village landscape consultant. 13, before a building permit may be issued for any of the approved lots, the new water main must be constructed and installed, and the existing water main located on the Maravira Litkovsky properties must be kept and abandoned in place as specified in the approved limited site development plan and the water main relocation plans to be approved by the village and the Westchester County Department of Health. 14, the deed or any other document conveying any of the lots created by this subdivision shall contain language substantially as follows. This property is subject to the conservation buffer easement agreement included as a condition of the Village of Irvington Planning Board decision granting final subdivision plan approval and limited site development plan approved by the Planning Board on February 2nd, 2022.
Wow, that was quite an effort. Any board member have a comment? Mike Smith,
No comments.
Dan,
No comments, thank you.
Lori,
No, thank you.
Kevin?
No comments.
I have no comment. Okay, I'll poll the board for a vote. Mike Smith,
Approve the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign for me.
Dan,
I approve of the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign for me.
Lori,
I approve and authorize Sarah to sign.
Kevin,
I also approve and authorize Sarah to sign.
and I'm Cesar Manfredi. I approve the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign. Thank you, everybody, very much. That was a long journey, and it ended in a way that we're protecting the pond, and we have legally allowed for the lots to move forward in a protected way. Mark, now that that's finished, can you shed any light on the drainage that the lady Kathy?
Well, first of all, I just want to say quickly and sincerely, on behalf of myself and my family, thank you to Chairperson Manfredi and all the members of the board, the village staff, and the village consultants, for all the work and effort over the period and process leading to coming to a resolution. So it's appreciated, and so are the comments that came in from the village or from the residents of the village, as well as Chet and the land trust. Appreciate the comments and certainly worked toward resolving as many of the issues as we could. I'm not really aware of what Ms. Devens is talking about. I believe it's on private property, so I don't really have anything to shed on that situation. I'm not really aware of it.
Okay, well, maybe you can check with Ed sometime in the next couple of days, and as a courtesy to see what's going on there.
Sure, be happy to talk to Ed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, time to move on. Thank you all again.
Thank you all.
We're tossing thank yous around. I think they're all well deserved. So have a good day.
Take care.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 3, 2021-28. That's 120 Sycamore Lane.
Good evening, everybody. How are you? This is
Good.
Kristen Lux.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm Kristen Lux, of Kristen Lux Architecture. I'm here representing the owners of 120 Sycamore Lane, Buck and Rebecca Schleifer. When I saw you last, somebody had brought up numbers that were very much inflated in our neighborhood analysis. Thank you so much to whoever called that out. I didn't realize that there was a town of Greenberg GIS. I was actually extrapolating all of the numbers from the Westchester GIS, which is why everything was so high. Now you will see that all numbers on both neighborhood analysis are referencing the town of Greenberg GIS now. In addition to our own numbers, those changed slightly too based on what was on our property card. You will see that we are still over in terms of both coverage and FAR. In terms of coverage, the client is happy to remove the basketball court, which is one of the 2 patios, which was never approved, never filed with the town. So that will remove 230 square feet from our coverage. We are still over the allowable coverage, so I am aware that a variance will need to take place. Floor area, we are also still over, and if you'd like me to share my screen, I can show you how we compare with the rest of the neighborhood.
Well, why don't you do that? Just show the chart.
Pardon me?
Show the FAR chart,
Excellent.
the neighborhood chart.
Sure. Let me see. I'm not seeing where I can share my screen. Is that possible? Is somebody
Sarah?
on here? Oh, there we go. Great. Can you see my screen now?
Yes,
Yes.
I can.
Fantastic. So you'll see sheet A-005, which is the neighborhood analysis of 120 Sycamore Lane and the surrounding properties on Sycamore Lane in the two neighboring
you-
streets.
Could you raise that and blow it up a little bit?
Yeah, I sure can.
Raise
How's
it
that?
That's better. Good, perfect.
Fantastic. So you'll see based on this chart that we still are over our percent allowed FAR. And in the neighborhood, there are a few other people that are also over their allowable FAR. And same thing with coverage. We will be over our coverage still with this.
And while you got that chart up, which is a major part of the application, does anybody on the board have any comment on the chart? Mike?
No, I do not. I appreciate that it was revised. This is much closer to what I had expected.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for letting me know that the numbers were off. I want to be as close to 100% accurate as humanly possible.
Dan?
No questions at this point, Caesar. Thank you.
Lori?
No questions, thanks.
Kevin?
No, thanks.
All right. I have some notes about height. Dave, was there a height issue for the rear? Not Dave, Ed.
No, it's just a storage issue with the way our code is written.
Yeah, I connected with Ed about that, and basically our basement finished ceiling is greater than 4 feet above grade at the back of the house. And so because of that, the town will be counting the basement as a story. Is that right,
And it's
Ed?
finished, and it's finished.
And it's finished, excuse me.
If it wasn't
So-
finished, it wouldn't count.
Do they need a height variance because of that?
No, just a stories variance.
Okay, well, it's still a variance. Okay.
It's just, it's a procedural variance.
Okay, and I think they showed the trees for the drainage system to be protected. Did you bring up that plan? I think we saw the drainage problem of connecting to the street drain has been fixed.
It has been. Yeah, let me pull that up for you. Here it is. I'll zoom in for you too. I know it's hard to see. There you go. How's that?
Terrific. Okay. All right, any comment from the board on the project in total? Mike?
No further questions.
Dan?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Lori?
No comment, thanks.
Kevin?
No.
Anything from the public, Sarah?
Yes, there are 2 hands raised. The first person that raised their hand to speak is Daniel Hodges.
Okay.
Hi, this is Daniel Hodges. I'm here with my wife, Jane Ridley. We live opposite Rebecca and Buck Schleifer at 121 Sycamore Lane. We just wanted to indicate 2 things. We're good friends with the Schleifers. They're very open and great neighbors, and they've been a real asset to our neighborhood. We do not have any concerns with the addition that they're proposing. It seems reasonable from what we can tell, and we think it will fit well within the overall look and whatever you want to call it, footprint of the neighborhood. So we just wanted to go on record to say that we're supportive of this project. We live directly opposite them at 121 Sycamore Lane.
And I'm Dan's wife, Jane Hodges, and I'd just like to echo everything that Daniel has said earlier. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess we call that the character of the neighborhood. So thank you for that comment. Sarah, you said there were 2 people. Thank you very much. That was very helpful.
Yes, there's There's two other people that are raising their hand. Second person is R. Schleifer. It's actually not allowing me to allow her to speak unless I promote her to a panelist.
Maybe they can go into the chat.
Okay, they're typing in the chat. And if you can put your first name so I can just have your name for the record.
It's probably Rebecca Schleifer if it's our Schleifer.
It is, you're absolutely right.
Okay, her comment is, this is our home and we love this neighborhood and are hoping to work with you all to make this project happen.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good. Thank you. And we appreciate that comment. Sarah, you said there was another person?
Yes, the last person that's raising their hand to speak is Louis Schenkel.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. This is Allison Lou Schenkel. We are
Hi, Lou.
Hi, Susan, Michael, and everybody. We are also neighbors of Rebecca and Buck, live across the street. As was said by Dan, wonderful neighbors and an asset to our community. And we are in complete support of their application and hope this goes forward.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with their 3 children. They definitely need a little addition. So we're definitely in support of them and the addition.
Okay, thank you very much. Take care. Lou.
Thanks.
Sarah, anything else?
There is nobody raising their hand to speak and there are no additional comments in the chat. Oh, actually, Rebecca added one more comment to the chat. We just wanted to state that we moved into this home 7 years ago. Our family has grown since then, and we just want to make this home a great fit for our family.
Okay, thank you for that comment. And with such support, I believe we're ready with a resolution to approve. Mary Ann?
Whereas in July 2021, Buck and Rebecca Schleifer applied for site development plan approval.
Mary Ann, you're fading out. Mary Ann, you're on mute somehow. Mary Ann, you're muted. You better start again. You were
Can you hear
muted.
me now? No, my whole thing just crashed. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. You better start from the beginning.
I'll start over. Whereas in July 2021, Buck and Rebecca Schleifer applied for site development plan approval to construct a 2nd-story addition to their house at 120 Sycamore Lane. And whereas the application did not include 2 patios that were undocumented and was revised to eliminate one of the existing patios and to include the other. And whereas although the footprint of the existing house is not increasing, the total coverage exceeds what is permitted and requires a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. Whereas the proposed addition encroaches into the side yard setback and requires a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. And whereas the proposed addition exceeds FAR and requires a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeal, and whereas a variance is required from the ZBA for 3 stories. And whereas Han Engineering reviewed the plans and in memoranda dated July 6th and November 29th, 2021, listed a number of items which were addressed in subsequent submissions. And where Suzanne Nolan, the village's landscape consultant, reviewed the plans and made several recommendations which were addressed to her satisfaction. And whereas the planning board held a public hearing on the application on July 7th and December 1st, 2021 and February 2nd, 2022, whereas it's type 2 action under secret and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board grants the application for site development plan approval of the improvements reflected in the drawings entitled Schleifer Residence prepared by Christine Lux Architecture, Subject to one, receiving variances from the ZBA for coverage FAR stories in the side yard incursion, and two, complying with the Han memorandum dated February 1st, 2022.
Okay, thank you. Anybody on the board have any comment about the resolution? No, okay. Let's poll the board for a vote. I'm Caesar Manfredi. I vote approval and authorize Sarah to sign for me. Mike Smith,
I approve the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign for me.
Dan,
I approve of the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign for me.
Laurie,
I approve and authorize Sarah to sign. Thank you.
Kevin.
I also approve and authorize Sarah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'd like to thank the architect for addressing our concerns so promptly and accurately. Thank you again, everyone. We're moving on to the next one.
Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate your time and effort. It's great to see you all again. Have a good night.
Okay, take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We're moving on to number 4, 2021-33, 49 Field Terrace.
Good evening, everyone. Douglas McClure for Sumit Mohan and Subhani Chandra. I don't believe there are any comments from Han on the project right now. I think he said he was ready to approve it, so I don't know if the board has any questions they'd like to ask.
Well, just to go through the comments, I think you addressed it all. Protecting the remaining trees, to get the correct names of the trees on the plans, tree protection, more native species, details of tree planting on steep slope. I believe our landscape architect has reviewed all that, and I don't think she has any more comment.
Yes.
Okay. Any comment from the board? Mike?
No comments.
Dan?
I have no comments.
Laurie?
No comments.
Kevin?
No comments.
Caesar has no comments. Any comment from the public? Sarah?
Nobody is raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
Mary Ann, do we have a resolution to approve 49 Field Terrace?
Whereas in September 2021, Sumit Mohan and Subhani Chandra applied for site development plan approval to construct an addition and relocate the existing driveway to their house at 49 Field Terrace. And although the proposed coverage is reduced from existing coverage because it is being changed to variances required from the Zoning Board of Appeals, which variance was granted on January 25th, 2022, whereas Han Engineering reviewed the plans and in memoranda dated August 27th and December 31st listed a number of items which were addressed in subsequent submissions, whereas Suzanne Nolan, the village's landscape consultant, reviewed the plans and made several recommendations which were addressed to her satisfaction. And was the planning board held a public hearing on the application on September 1st, 2021 and January 5th and February 2nd, 2022. And whereas the action is a type 2 action under SEQA and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board grants the application for site development plan approval of the improvements reflected in the drawings entitled Chandra Residence prepared by Mitzi Architecture, structural permit plans for additions and alterations, 49 Field Terrace prepared by Resreal Designs, Mohan Chandra Residence landscape plans prepared by Dean Pushlar, and proposed additions and alterations, 49 Field Terrace prepared by Hudson Engineering. And of course, all the drawings are listed and dated. That's it. No, there's no conditions on this one.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mary Ann. Any comments on the resolution from the board? No comments from the board. I will poll the board for a vote. Mike Smith?
I approve the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign for me.
Dan?
I approve of the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign for me.
Laurie?
approve and authorize Sarah to sign.
Kevin?
I approve and authorize Sarah.
Ms. Caesar, I approve and authorize Sarah to sign for me. Thank you, Doug, for fixing or addressing our concerns, and good luck with that.
Thank you very much. Have a great night, everyone.
You too.
I'll see you in a little bit.
I mean, we got to see you again.
Unfortunately, yes, I know it's not your favorite thing. I guess I have to leave now.
Number
Sarah,
five.
can you?
Doug, Sarah's Doug gone?
Yeah,
Yes,
he's
Doug.
gonna-
Okay, we're moving on to the next one, 2021-37, 61 Butterwood Lane West.
Good evening, all. Can you hear me and see me?
Yes.
Good. My name is Steve Seacon. I'm the architect working with the Parvin family at 61 Butterwood Lane North and West. And I just wanted to go through some of the observations from previous meetings and bring you up.
Well,
to
our main concern was the screening down in the, I think it's the northeast corner.
that was addressed to the satisfaction of Ms. Nolan.
Why don't you bring up the plan for that?
Additional planting was added at the corner of the property that bounds Hamilton Road. Naturally, we're going to be in the field identifying the specific location of the trees and vegetation. As you know, this is basically a buffer between the back property line and the right-of-way. This is heavily vegetated, and there are a couple of little sort of, I'd say, weaker spots through here that are going to be, planted additionally. And the idea would be, to get nice thick Norway spruce and some cherry laurel bushes, for the grade screening. The pool, due to the grade is up, several feet when you come from the backyard. And
But what's the dark strip around the edge of the pool and deck? That used to be plantings. It's okay.
It's gravel now.
Okay, good. Didn't want to get it confused with planting.
No, also, Ed Marin suggested that these bushes that were planted there could also be climbed. So, in a nod to safety, we eliminated those as well.
Right. I wanted to make sure that dark strip was not plantings because of that reason.
Right. So the screening, we feel that, we've addressed fairly satisfactorily. The barrier issues with Ed's guidance, we've also addressed in terms of, the height of the barrier, the kind of protection that's needed from the house. And we went to the zoning board naturally on the 25th, and we were seeking two variances. One, which is kind of academic in nature because of the fact that this property is bound by two roads. This pool naturally is in effect behind the house, but is also in front of the house. The board had no problem with that. The board reviewed the second variance, which was for coverage. And what we did in response to their review is that we analyzed a little more carefully some of the GIS numbers. And then we also took a look inside at what we could reduce. So what you're seeing here now. I'm going to just scroll down to the next one. In the light blue, I hope you can kind of read this. We're taking 2 feet off of the entire width of the deck, as well as 1 foot and the entire depth. So we're going to be reducing the footprint by approximately 78 square feet. And in so doing, we're going to reduce our request for coverage by approximately 15% from the previous submission. The other thing that's noteworthy is that with William's help from Han Engineering, we looked at some of the GIS numbers that were not accurate, and we traced off some neighboring properties that had indeed much higher coverage numbers, so that when we go back to the zoning board, we can show that we're quite close to the neighborhood average. The neighborhood average on Butterwood is 17.8%, and what we're asking for is about 18.8%. So these numbers have been amended in the chart in the red, so that we're virtually the same as average, although a little bit higher, and we're increasing the nonconformity. So we need to get their consent, which we feel we've addressed their concerns. So I'm hopeful that these adjustments, coupled with the fact we have 4 supporting letters from neighbors, including adjacent neighbors, and that we are very eager, as most of your applicants are, to get in the ground this summer, and hope to defy some of the supply chain hiccups and so forth. That maybe we would hope that some kind of conditional resolution might be acceptable with a ZBA contingency in there. And naturally, we have to.
What we're looking at is slightly smaller than what we saw the last time you were here.
Correct.
Okay. I have no comment. Mike?
No, I have no comment.
Dan?
No comments. Thank you, Cecil.
Laurie?
No comment.
Kevin?
Nothing, thank you.
Sarah, anything from the public?
There isn't anybody raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay. Mary Ann, you have a resolution?
Yeah, I do. But first I have a question. Stephen, what's the date of the drawing you showed? Because I have my resolution based on the drawings dated 2/2/22. Is that what the date of the drawing you showed us tonight?
Yes.
Okay. So you must have filed that in the building department just recently.
We have to go back to the zoning board.
I know you do. I'm just talking about the drawings. They were the ones on file in the building department?
They have not been sent yet. Correct.
Oh, they haven't. Well, I don't understand that when I went in to look at them online, the ones I saw were dated 2/2/22. The reason I'm saying it is because my resolution's addressing the right plans. And I don't understand how the things I looked at yesterday. Oh, look at that. You have 2. So it's not. How do you have dates that didn't happen?
Because this is the next time that we go to the zoning board.
Oh gosh. Okay. I mean, it makes it a little, when you present different drawings than are on file, it makes it a little bit difficult because I have a resolution, but okay, we'll call. So this is the plan dated this isn't really how you're supposed to date them. You're supposed to date them the date you wrote them. You know what I mean? That you just turn them in.
Okay.
But okay, I'm gonna take this date.
Okay, thank you for your
All right.
flexibility.
Okay, whereas in October 2021, Caven Farben applied, wait, let me just assume, I assume that the planning board wants to approve this one, the changed one.
Yes, that's what we were commenting on. We
Yes,
made sure that he recognized that what we're looking at is smaller than the first submission.
Okay, whereas in
Mary
October,
Ann, let's make sure. Any of the planning board have any issue with the smaller version of the footprint?
No.
No. Okay, there was no comment from the planning board regarding the smaller footprint of the proposal.
okay. Whereas in October 2021, Caven Farben applied for site development plan approval to construct a pool and reconstruct a deck at his house at 61 Butterwood Lane West, and was proposed construction exceeds the permitted coverage, and the pool is located in the front yard. Variances are required from the Zoning Board of Appeals. Hold on a minute, I left out a bit cause in here. Whereas Han Engineering reviewed the plans and a memorandum dated October 5th, November 2nd, and November 29th, 2021, and January 4th, 2022, listed a number of items which were addressed in subsequent submissions. And whereas Suzanne Nolan, the village's landscape consultant, reviewed the plans and made a number of recommendations which were addressed to her satisfaction. Planning board held a public hearing on the application on October 6th, November 3rd, and December 1st, 2021, and January 5th and February 2nd, 2022. And as the action is a type 2 action under secret and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board grants the application for site development plan approval of the improvements reflected in the drawings entitled Parvin Residence Rear Yard Deck Addition prepared by Stephen C. Kahn Architect, with the various drawings, all last dated 2/22/22. Subject to receiving variances from the ZBA for coverage and pool location. Now, I have to ask the board whether Caesar, whether we had, and I had included, because I did watch the ZBA meeting and realized that the ZBA had told them to make it smaller. I added, and be it further resolved that further site development plan approval is not required if the only change is to reduce the footprint of the pool and deck.
Yeah, that's okay.
I may as well leave it in there in case they make it a little smaller. Okay, I'm not suggesting that, but
Pretty soon, if it gets small, it'll be a bathtub.
it's just so you don't have to come back again if that's the only change.
Thank you.
Before you go on, Mary Ann, let's make sure the whole board is in agreement with me. Mike?
That's fine with me.
The question is, do they need to come back if the zoning board makes them make it smaller than they've already made it smaller? Dan?
I have no objection, Caesar. I'm fine with it.
Lori?
No, and I hope they don't do that to them.
Right, I agree. Kevin?
I agree with that.
Okay, Mary Ann, finish up.
Oh, I'm done.
Oh, terrific. Any comment from the public?
No, there's nobody raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay, let's poll the board for a vote. Mike?
I approve the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign for me.
Dan?
I approve and authorize Sarah to sign.
Lori?
Approve and authorize Sarah to sign.
Kevin?
I approve and authorize Sarah.
Caesar approves and authorize Sarah to sign for me. Okay, thank you very much. Good luck with the ZBA.
Okay, thank you all.
We'll be moving along. That was number 5. Number 6, 2021-40. It's 84 Fargo Lane.
Hello again, Douglas McClure for Matthew McCarthy at 49 Fargo Lane. Sorry, 84 Fargo Lane. Mixing up my projects. We received Han's comments. We know we need to go for a variance. I do have a question about that, but I'll wait a bit to ask that. The landscape architect had a request that we add some comment to about drainage and keeping away from the critical root zone of existing trees. We've actually, since we received that, already modified the drawings to include that comment, and we'll be resubmitting those to the building department. Other than that, I don't think there were. Yep.
Hold on. So your actions to address our concerns are not yet done in plans that were submitted. You still need to submit the plans implementing the comments.
Well, the comments from the previous meeting have all been addressed and submitted. I'm talking about Doug's latest comments.
Oh, okay. Very good. Go ahead.
We addressed all the previous comments regarding.
In Han's memo, in the resolution, Caesar.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that he's not answering last meeting's questions after tonight. So, okay.
No.
Go ahead.
So the one question I had regarding the most recent comments is Han's office says we need a variance for the front yard and the side yard, and I think it's the side yard and the backyard, and I just wanted clarification of how they're determining which yards we need the variance for.
Bring up the site plan, and it's a little sliver. You may not have seen it.
Yeah, hold on.
That was Ed's call, I think.
What do we say? Front yard, side yard?
Yes.
You said front yard, side yard.
Yeah.
Just give me one moment here. I want to make sure I have the right drawings in the right folder.
While he's looking for that, Ed, I have a note about height that needs to be fixed. Was that taken care of?
No, they took care of that, Susan.
Okay. I have a note on undocumented patio. Was that added in?
It was added in.
Yes.
He didn't identify it separately, but it was added in.
Okay.
Okay. Let me call that up. 2017. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah, go to the site plan.
Cover sheet.
Yep.
That's it. Zoom in on the top one. A little more.
Okay.
So if you look at the arrow.
Oh,
right
it's the stair.
Yeah, it's just a little bit. It's trivial, really, to be honest.
So that stair is existing. I wasn't
Well,
planning on taking.
it's the addition and the increase of the bulk, the mass.
Okay. All
Is
right.
really what it is.
I gotcha. Very good.
Now,
All right.
Now, wait a minute. I have a question. So Doug, you said that you think there's a rear yard setback too?
No, that's what I was wondering about because.
Because I thought we thought.
I'm not the new. Sorry, I'm yelling. I shouldn't be. The new porch is not going past that setback.
Right.
But
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. I just wanted to make sure I had the resolution drafted right.
Okay.
Doug, when you were scrolling down to get to the site plan, I think I saw the chart for the neighborhood chart, the table for comparison. Yes. Could you blow that up so we could take a look at it?
Yes.
All right. Make it a little smaller so we can see the right. Well, I think we got it all. Good.
So
anybody else? Go ahead.
You can see in terms of coverage, a lot of these properties are over on coverage. FAR, we don't have an issue and we're in line with everybody else.
You're slightly on the high side.
Yeah, you're the second highest, actually.
All right. Anybody have any questions from the board? Mike?
No questions.
Dan?
No questions, Caesar. Thank you.
Lori?
No, thank you.
Kevin?
No, thank you.
All right, Caesar has no comment. Sarah, anything from the public?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
Mary Ann, do you have a resolution prepared?
Yeah. Whereas in November 2021, Matthew McCarthy applied for site development plan approval to construct an addition and extended deck on his house at 84 Fargo Lane, which lies in the View Preservation District. And the proposed construction will exceed coverage and project into the front and side yard setbacks, therefore requiring variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals. Han Engineering reviewed the plans and in a memorandum dated November 2nd, 2021, listed a number of items, most of which were addressed in a subsequent submission. And Suzanne Nolan, the village's landscape consultant, reviewed the plans and made several recommendations, most of which were addressed to her satisfaction. And whereas the planning board held a public hearing on the application on November 3rd, 2021 and February 2nd, 2022, and whereas the proposed renovations will not affect views of the Hudson River, and whereas the action is a type 2 action under secret and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board grants the application for site development plan approval of the improvements reflected in the drawings entitled McCarthy Residence prepared by McSee Architecture, subject to 1, obtaining variances from the ZBA for coverage in front and side yard setbacks. 2, complying with the items in Han's February 1st, 2022 memorandum. 3, locating any new drainage away from the critical root zones of existing trees and modifying the drainage note on the proposed site plan to reflect this. And 4, if existing drainage cannot be identified, providing detailed plans and specifications for stormwater system, which must be approved by the village engineer.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure if any public, I'm pretty sure I asked before. Sarah, anything?
Yes.
Yes, there is somebody, or yes, I
No.
asked already.
There's nobody from the public.
Okay, thank you. Let's poll for a vote. Mike Smith,
I approve the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign for me.
Dan,
I approve the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign for me.
Lori,
Approve and authorize Sarah to sign. Thanks.
Kevin,
I approve and authorize Sarah.
Caesar, I approve and authorize Sarah. Well, thank you, Doug. Nice job.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
That was 84. We're moving to number 7, 2022-01, 11 Hancock Place.
Good evening. I'm Christina Griffin, the architect. I'm here with Seth, Garcia Elias. He's project designer, and we received the comments from Han Engineering. I think we've satisfied all the comments except for 2 of them, and they're related to the non-conforming coverage that will require a variance, and the gazebo that is non-conforming in the rear yard. And these are this is the part of the project that was there when our clients bought the house, because our submission is actually for a new summer kitchen, trellis, and renovations to the 3rd floor. I have the site plan here if anyone wants to, if you'd like to see the additional information we added to the drawings. You can share the screen if you like.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
My main question is there was quite a few things that were not included in the coverage calculations to the previous presentation. Added as all those coverage omissions that were in the previous have been added and taken care of.
Yes, in fact,
Yeah, we're
that's
all
what I'm
set.
going to show you here.
Caesar, we're good.
Okay.
Yes. This is our current site plan. We've added quite a few notes describing all the items that are add to the coverage calculation, and we have revised our coverage calculations to the right. And I think we have now the information we need to go to the zoning board.
All right. There was a tree comment about a 16-inch maple by the patio. Was that, you got it on the plan now?
Yes, we do. We added that to the plan. We have a note to show protection of the tree
All right.
right here.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments? Mike?
No comments.
Dan?
I have no comments. Thank you.
Lori?
No comments.
Kevin?
No comments. Thank you.
Caesar has no comments further. Sarah, anybody from the public?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay. Mary Ann, we have a resolution for this?
Yeah, I do. In January 22, Darren and Sukaina Klein applied for site development plan approval to renovate their house and patio at 11 Hancock Place, which lies in the View Preservation District. And the proposed construction will exceed coverage and project into the rear yard setback, therefore requiring variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals. And was Han Engineering reviewed the plans, and in a memorandum dated January 4th, 2022, listed a number of items which were addressed in a subsequent submission. And was Suzanne Nolan, the village's landscape consultant, reviewed the plans and made one recommendation, which was addressed to her satisfaction. And was the planning board held a public hearing on the application on January 5th and February 2nd. And the proposed renovations will not affect views of the Hudson River. The action is a type 2 action under SECRA and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board grants the application for site development plan approval of the improvements reflected in the drawings entitled renovations to the Klein residence prepared by Christina Griffin, architect, subject to obtaining variances from the ZBA for coverage and rear yard setback.
Okay, thank you very much, Mary.
I have one quick question. I'm wondering, since
Who's talking?
I'm sorry, my name is Lizette Elias. I work with Christina. I'm just wondering, since the coverage, it has nothing to do with the work we're proposing to do, can we apply to both ARB to proceed with the outdoor kitchen and attic work and zoning together in the next 2 meetings? Or do we have to go to zoning, wait for that approval, and then go to ARB?
It's based on your application. You have to wait.
Can we do it under a separate application and move forward with ARB for the outdoor kitchen?
Ed, I don't think she
We'll
understood
talk
your.
about it tomorrow, but you're bifurcated. You're making it very difficult to manage this project, just like some of your other ones. And that's when we have a lot of problems. So we'll discuss it offline tomorrow. It's nothing for this board to discuss.
All right, I suggest you talk to the building department tomorrow as to how to proceed in series or parallel with the ZBA and ARB. Okay, thank you for the presentation. I'm going to poll the board for a vote. Mike?
I approve the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign for me.
Dan?
I approve the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign.
Lori?
I approve and authorize Sarah to sign.
Kevin?
I approve and authorize Sarah.
Caesar, I approve and authorize Sarah to sign. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We're moving on to number 8, which is 2022-02, 75 North Broadway.
Good evening, members of the board. Everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, hi. My name's Bill Witt. I'm the architect for the homeowners, Jonathan Casillian and Kimberly Cho at 75 North Broadway. This project was approved by the planning board back in 2019. During construction, a minor change was made to the rear patio. If I could share my screen, I'd love to show you that on a site plan.
Go right ahead.
So here you can see the previously approved site plan. We were proposing a new deck on the back of the house. The new deck had steps coming down to a new flagstone patio that would then come this way and meet up with an existing patio and enter onto a gravel driveway. During construction, my client and contractor made a minor change. And what they did, instead of coming straight down with the flagstone patio, they built railroad ties with gravel infill and came down to the gravel driveway, slightly different than it was originally proposed. Now, this happens to result in an increase in lot coverage of 15 square foot because we're counting the gravel as impervious surface. But it was, like I said, it was a minor change, and I don't believe there's any issues with zoning as far as lot coverage is concerned.
You're sort of intruding on the driveway. Is that? No, that's not my problem.
No, this is where the driveway comes right now. So it jumps right on the drive. I've got a photo if you'd like to see.
No, that's
here you see how it just interacts with the existing driveway. There's some stones here. And this was an existing gravel driveway that has an existing railroad tie steps in it already. So they decided to keep it natural, matching the existing.
Fine. Okay, so a slight increase. Ed, does this require a variance from the ZBA?
No, he's still within coverage.
He's fine.
Mike, you have any comments?
No comments.
Dan?
I have none, thank you.
Lori?
No, thanks.
Kevin?
Nothing, thank you.
And Caesar has no comment. Marianne, anything from the public, Sarah?
No, nobody's raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay, Marianne, do we have a resolution?
Yeah. Whereas in 2019, Jonathan Casilli received site development plan approval to construct a deck and walkway at his house at 75 North Broadway, which construction has been completed. And whereas the applicant is seeking approval for a change in the approved plans, and whereas Han Engineering reviewed the plans and in a memorandum dated February 1st found no engineering issues with the change. And whereas Suzanne Nolan, the village's landscape consultant, reviewed the plans and found no landscaping issues. Planning board held a public hearing on the application February 2nd. The action's type 2 action under secret and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board grants the application for site development plan approval of the improvements reflected in the as-built drawing entitled Exterior Deck Silly Chow Residence prepared by William Witt Architect.
Okay, thank you. Let's poll the board for a vote. Mike?
I approve the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign for me.
Dan?
I approve of the resolution and authorize Sarah to sign for me.
Lori?
Approve and authorize Sarah to sign.
Kevin?
Approve and authorize Sarah.
And Caesar votes yes to approve and authorize Sarah to sign. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. You just say.
Okay, that was number 8. We're moving on to number 9, which is 2020-19, 45 Station Road.
Hello. John Malone, First Malone Architecture.
Nice haircut.
I know something's sticking up there. You never notice until you're on the video. So this is for a modification to an approved site plan to address damage and erosion associated with flooding in Barney Brook at the end of last year. So I think today we're looking for direction. There are the client has hired an engineer, a structural engineer, to look at the problem. Basically, what happened during the flooding.
I was going to ask to bring that picture up. Very good. Go ahead.
Yeah. During the flooding, I think it was in end of September, beginning of November of last year, Barney Brook was very high, a lot of velocity. An existing tree in this area was undermined, so the tree fell and then pulled some of the bank with it. And then obviously the flooding in the brook extended the erosion. You can see some other erosion that's the result of it. This a portion of this retaining wall here is the front edge of a level spreader. So you can see in the image that some of that has collapsed into the brook. So I think the initial reaction from the engineer who's here tonight, Cyrus is here, we have questions for, was to, oh, here's an image of the tree. The tree that fell. So that the tree did not fall from wind or anything like that. The tree was the result of erosion being undermined by the water. So the client is looking to correct the condition as soon as possible and try to reinforce the bank so to limit more damage to the the yard and the level spreader and the stormwater management. So the engineer's design is to put a stabilized bank, which is made out of these large CMU blocks. The reason for this approach is partially to limit the impact of building a stabilized bank. So these CMU are not like typical CMU that are 16 by 8 inches high. These are 4 feet wide by 30 inches deep. In order to assemble this wall, what you can do is position a crane in the rear yard of the building here, and you can drop these and place them sort of going over the top. So there wouldn't necessarily be excavation associated with them. They have a locking mechanism where the blocks lock together. So you can lay one row and then lay another row, and they lock with a certain set batter, which is the way that they step back. So it's a method to stabilize the bank that wouldn't involve bringing equipment down into the bank, wouldn't involve excavation. It's basically an approach where you lift over from the top. The approach has been designed based on the soil retaining from behind, right? So there's a certain amount of weight that is just required to resist that soil. I think the reaction was to do something quickly to limit additional erosion. Obviously, when there's erosion, the soil that left here moved somewhere else down the stream, has the potential to change the course of the stream, leading to damage to other downstream properties, whether it's village property or other properties. So I think their goal is to do what they can to stabilize and restore the bank, as quickly as possible. In this case, we have a survey. One of the things that is concerning here is in Irvington's code, obviously, this is considered a building. The property is already at, or I think it's above coverage. So this thing that we're proposing, this stabilized bank, if that's considered a building, would need a variance. So if the board would like to consider it a building or is going to treat it as a building as opposed to some other kind of entity, and if they're going to ask for us a variance, we would want to expedite that, possibly do that as quickly as possible. And I think we have received a long list of comments from Hans engineers in terms of how to approach this. Some of it we can address in terms of the wetlands permit and items like that. We have spoken to Beth Evans about it. I mean, her position was first of all, to just address, to speak with the board and see exactly what you guys needed or what the village needed, and then she would do her best to address that as quickly as possible. We had a wetlands delineation for the last project that is just about completed in terms of the house. So we know where the edge of the wetlands was. The flood line, I think, is also shown on the drawings. So Caesar, I don't know where you want to go. Would it make sense to go through the comments? I don't know.
I have a few comments that go back to the picture, the photograph of the. I have a minor question there. Where those plants are, that's the rain garden that we approved in the last approval. Doesn't look
So
like
this rain garden preceded the last approval. I'm not sure what drove it, but we didn't make a change to it was confirmed in the last approval as is.
No, I'm just saying we approved it. You had to improve it. It doesn't look like that.
It's been approved. Yeah,
it has been improved.
Yes, yeah, it was.
In other words,
Paul,
okay.
Yeah, Paul Petretti did the design for that.
Yeah, this was approved many years ago, Caesar.
Yes,
okay,
it's older than.
It doesn't look like it's anything close to a rain garden, but okay.
It was more of a level spreader than a rain garden because of the shade, Caesar.
All right. We have some major issues with the way it's presented. You need a cross section. You got a cross section of the wall, but it doesn't include a cross section of the stream as to where the wall is in relation to the stream, in the depth of the wall, and what happens upstream. My experience with flooding and walls is if you don't do them deep enough, they scar underneath. And the upstream side of the wall, what happens if the water gets behind the wall and the wall collapses in the stream? And you can't tell that from the plans here. So there's, and what happens when you put a wall in and the water hits the wall and as you stated, it rebounds across the stream and causes erosion either across the stream or downstream, and we don't know that. And well, you don't include any sediment erosion control, but I guess you could take care of that. But the major issues is the actual construction of the wall. We don't know enough about it.
The 100-year flood line also.
I mean, how far into
the cross section?
The big issue is a cross section of the wall, including a cross section of the stream on the same cross section.
So the cross section that was provided is basically this, and it doesn't have a site cross section. You're saying? Yeah. Right, this is the engineer's drawing. This is not our drawing.
Stream bottom.
Where's the base? Where's the base of stream? We want to see how it impacts across on the other side also.
In terms of,
we don't want to build a structure so large that it promotes erosion on the north side of the stream.
Yeah.
So I guess my question there is, what would you need to see to answer that last question that you were saying? Or
we're going to need your engineer to provide us documentation that shows how do we do water doesn't get behind it. This is a lot of wall in a wetland area. How are you mitigating wetlands? It's not one thing. What we don't want to see is this repair promotes additional erosion or deterioration of the stream elsewhere, and it designed wrong, it can. So we need to see velocity changes from this wall, etc.
Well, the two key things in terms of scouring is what happens to the upstream side of the wall. Is it going to scour behind the wall and the wall collapses? And the depth of the wall in relation to the bottom of the stream. If you remember, the Miamis Bridge on the New England Thruway collapsed because the footings were scoured underneath and the footing collapsed and the bridge collapsed because it wasn't deep enough. And we don't know that here. So you got some engineering things to do.
So that I'm just asking this. So there's a depth of the wall. I'm just trying to confirm the depth of the footing. And then
you need a cross section of, just like you have the wall there, and included in that cross section is a cross section of the stream, both sides of the stream.
Okay, so the survey information we have, you can see is limited to this side of the stream. We don't have survey of the other property.
Well, how do you know that the water is not going to bounce off the wall and erode the other side?
I understand the question. I'm just trying to figure out. So to survey the other side of the property, obviously that's a different project. We could potentially use GIS estimates for the other side of the
John, as discussed earlier, I don't know if it was yesterday or today, let's schedule a meeting with your engineer, Doug, and George Palmer out there so we can expedite this.
Okay.
Doug will be back on Monday. We'll get some times from him that we can meet.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to get solved tonight at the meeting. I think it's
and our goal is just to do what needs to be done to expedite it. I think
I don't think, I mean, once we know what the two engineers have a matter of minds, then we can get the landscape architects involved.
Okay. And I understand one of the comments, Caesar, that we understand is that we need to restore the stormwater system that was in place, right? So whatever done here, you have to put the level spreader back to the condition that it was. And we understand that.
Well, since we approved it as a rain garden, I would say yes to that.
Right. Okay. And then what do you guys think about ZBA? Should we go tell ZBA what's happening here?
I don't know how you can. We don't know the numbers.
Okay.
I don't think it's early to tell, but I think the proposal is extremely mechanical in a wetland. It's pretty big and bulky.
Okay.
We have to
I mean, the only thing I could think there to expedite it would be to tell ZBA what's happening and what the maximum size of the thing could be.
Yeah.
And then we could do less than that. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of there.
Yeah, no. We're not going to send a guest to the ZBA.
And so then what is your thought that this is considered a building, or could it potentially be considered something else?
Look, it's a combination of building material. It's a building.
Right. No, I understand that, but like,
it's a very simple verbiage.
No, I'm not arguing with the interpretation that we've had in the past. This is a new condition. We've never been involved with something like this. So I'm just trying to see would there be any way to treat this as a stream repair or something else? Is there a different assemblage of materials? Like we have another one tonight that you guys have seen that's made of gabion baskets. Does a gabion basket rock related thing mean that
it's going to be the same conversation?
Okay. All right, we can do it offline if you want.
Well, in terms of the coverage, from my understanding, Ed, correct me, the top of this wall is going to be covered. So,
well, Caesar,
we don't know what that number is.
I mean, to be honest with you, look at the batting of this wall. It's going to be more than just the top of the wall. The batting is a significant batting.
I think in our architectural drawings, we have it shown as a revised.
Yeah. No, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just
right. So our assumption with the batter and the top of the wall, the way it's designed right now, Caesar, it's about 300 square feet.
And it's not sensitive to the wetland at all. This proposal. So let's get the engineers out there first.
Okay.
All right.
Would it make sense to try to coordinate that to get Beth there as well, the wetlands consultant?
Like I said, I think we need to get the engineers on board first.
Okay.
Yeah, we should know what it's going to look like before the landscape people get involved.
Oh, and John, make this a separate application, because it truly is a separate application, and just and pull the mitigation and the repair of the rain garden / level spreader on this plan, so that they can get the CO for the house.
Okay.
And it truly is a separate application because it's not really part an amendment to the existing, yeah, that works.
We just assumed that we couldn't have two site plan approvals open at the same time. That's why.
Yeah,
we
but it's
do
the
it
same
as-
problem at 7-9, then I can't give you a CO for the house. If this is open.
Right, okay.
Okay. Anything further, John, before I
I
poll the
think,
board?
no, I think we should, we'll go through the list offline. If we can set it up for next week, that's great.
Mike, you have anything?
No, I have no further comments. I know that this is primarily an engineering issue.
Dan,
No comments, Caesar.
Lori,
No comments, thanks.
Kevin?
No, I think you covered all the questions that were in my mind as we were talking about it. So thank you.
I have no further questions. And don't forget, you're going to be working in the stream, so there has to be, this is down the road, but you need to have an erosion control plan because you're going to be in the stream. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, John. We'll be moving along. We'll see you another time.
Caesar, there were some comments in the chat. I don't know if we needed to
Okay,
mention.
sorry, I'm
those.
glad you mentioned that. Sarah, do you have anything from the public?
Well, no one's raising their hand to speak, but the comment in the chat was from Sirius Mayanot, Obi, sorry for butchering your last name. Then they mentioned that they're the engineer for the project and they were available for any questions that you have.
Okay. Well, I guess those questions will be addressed when they meet in person offline. Okay, anything further, Sarah, beyond the applicant's engineer?
No.
Okay, we're done with 45 Station Road, and we're gonna. Okay, John, thank you.
I
And we're
think
gonna
I might
move-
be the next one, Caesar.
3 Dow's Lane, okay. 2021-11 is 3 Dow's Lane. On this application, Dan McEllicott is going to recuse himself, and we will have sitting in for him, Mike Bifulco. Go ahead, John.
Hold on one second, let me just pull up the correct drawings. So this is again, a modification. It's been sent as a modification to add a exterior oil tank to the side of the existing residence to replace a failing interior oil tank. So currently this is the property. If you guys remember this property, it's a very odd property in the sense that it is entirely landlocked within the Dow's Lane school property, and it is near the condominiums on Buckout, but it is entirely within the surrounded on four sides by the school property. The change is to add, there's existing equipment on the outside of the old building, which was originally built as a stable and is now a single family residence. And there's two condensers on the side, and the goal is to put a oil tank, which is, I have a cut for it, is a sort of a rectangular upright oil tank, and it has built-in containment. It's called a Roth tank. So it's basically a double-walled tank to make sure that it's essential for any of the oil to escape with in any corrosion as a result.
What's the size of the tank, John?
It's 1,000 liter, which I think is, what is that, about 250 gallons? I can pull up, I do have the cut for it here.
No, that's all right, that's close enough.
Yeah, it's
just
rectangular, and it's very narrow, so it fits within the area similar to the size of the condenser.
It's
So
only
I
2.5
think,
feet,
yeah, it's taller and it's longer, but it's like, within 30, it's less than 30 inches wide.
And is there a fence there that screens this tank to people walking by?
There's a lot of planting out here. There is a fence indicated. I don't know what the condition of the fence is. I didn't really I'd have to go back and check. I see that you had a note on that. But the planting, I think, is what we indicated in our submission. Let me see if it's in the
But the
letter.
planting is on the school property.
It is, yeah, it is on the school property. It is Larry's doing, it is the owner's doing the planting. I guess the school allows him to do that. But you can see from the area is on the side of the house here. So it's not really visible from the adjacent park, but you're right. It's not, all of this planting is outside of the property line, right?
You mentioned, you can see here when you're not sharing the plan, so. You mentioned that
Oh,
we
I'm
could
sorry.
see.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. Hold on a second. What did I do? I didn't share screen. Sorry. So this is the condition as you approach the house from the north side, where you access the little basketball court at Dow's Lane. So it's right underneath these two little windows, if you can see it. Right. And this is the condition there now. So there's no visual impact from the side, and you can see I can't really see the evidence. I don't have photos of what's there in terms of the actual fence. I think there's been work done, so the fence, maybe the part of the fence has been removed in order to look at that area for maybe possible installation of this thing. But I'll take a look at it and see what's there and give you photos of it.
Well, we'd like to see what the fence looks like.
Yeah, and I think if the fence certainly, like a screening fence, if that's what was there or is there, that would take care of it in addition to the existing planting, I guess.
Well, we should know. We should know if the fence is there or not. So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So then the other thing is that this area here is a sidewalk. I don't know if basically this whole area here is a sidewalk. And the survey that we've been using on this project, there's never been an indication of what that is, or it was never called out as a sidewalk, and I've never snuck behind that building. So this whole area, we've added it to the drawings as an undocumented walk. So there wouldn't be any impact in terms of coverage of adding the tank there because there's already a walk, but the walk is not documented. It didn't show as a walk on the survey.
What about the air conditioning? Those pads are new, but are they on the side?
There was no pad or anything. That's what I'm saying. It was a walkway, and the air conditioners got dropped on that walkway. The air conditioners look, I don't know, they look 20 years old to me, so I don't really know when they got dropped there. But we can legalize that at the same time. We've shown that as. But the coverage number won't be driven by the footprint of any of these items. It'll just be driven by the footprint of the sidewalk.
Well, you were here not too long ago. Why wasn't the sidewalk included then?
I didn't know. We didn't know. Nobody knew it was there. It doesn't show as the sidewalk on the survey, but it is there. It's a very dense survey, though, Caesar. If you look at it, I mean, I don't know. This is a TC Merits survey. They're very, very detailed, even for small properties. I think it just was missed as something.
So what are you looking for?
I guess at this point, if you'd like to send us to ZBA to get that variance, to get that out of the way, that would be great. And I guess in the meantime, we can get you more detail on the screening.
Well, actually, I was thinking of a new application for the stuff that's undocumented, and come back.
A new application. The application, you mean just in terms of treating it as a new application rather than a modification?
Yeah, because it's yes.
Okay, so the submission is the same, right? Is that?
Yes.
No, you're missing the coverage from the ZBA, from your last trip to the ZBA. You used the wrong base sheet. The stuff you legalized in the back of the garage is not shown on this application.
Okay, we can pick that up.
So you need to.
Saying there's something.
It's not a lot, but you need to correct that as well.
There's something missing back here, you're saying, Ed,
right? And the numbers don't reflect it as well.
Okay. Well, we can pick that up at the same time.
Yeah.
All right.
And show us what that fence looks like and whether it needs to be rehabbed.
Okay. So fence, revise the coverage, resubmit it as, do we need to renotice to resubmit it as a new application?
Mary Ann?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
All right, so we'll just change the paperwork to a new application paperwork and take care of it that way. Sounds good.
Okay, John?
Yeah, is there any other concerns? That's it. Those are.
Well, I'm gonna
manageable.
poll the board and see if there are any other concerns. Mike? Mike Smith first. Mike, if you're talking, you're muted.
I have no other concerns.
All right, Dan is recused, so Mike Baifuco,
No questions.
Lori,
No questions.
Kevin,
None. Thank you.
and Caesar has no further questions. Sarah, anything from the public?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay, that's the end of, thank you, John. That's the end of that one. 3 Dow's Lane. Moving on to number 11, 2022-05, 20 Elm Park.
Sarah, I got a list of the people who are here on there. Did you get it? So you can let them in. George Ellis Sandrados, Nicholas. Do you have the list? Nicholas
I don't have
Mark.
the list, but if everybody can raise their hand,
Okay,
I'll let them in as panelists.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, Dan is back in on the board and Mike is in the wings. Mike Baifuco is in the wings. Okay, do we have an applicant for 20 Elm Park?
George, we can't hear you.
George Alessandros, we don't hear you, you're muted.
It doesn't indicate he's muted. There's something else going on.
We have Nicholas Marquis.
Marquez, yes.
Hi, is this any better? Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I never can get the technology to work out the first time, so I apologize about that.
Okay, you're on.
So I am an associate at Keenan Bean PC. We are the attorneys for applicant Paul Willingham, also Tom Willingham, same person. Tom is on with us today. I have Nick Marks with us. He's the architect from Design Development. Mark Schulman, the other architect from Design Development. We have Brian Hildenbrand. He's the engineer from Hildenbrand Engineering. And we have Chris Munch somewhere here. He's the project manager from Gray Book Inc. I'm going to give a brief overview of the project, the proposed project, and then here's Chris. And then I'll hand it over to Mark, Nick, Brian, whoever feels they can better explain what the plan is, whatever variances we might need, whatever coverage and floor area and stuff like that. But basically, the property, it's 20 Elm Park. It's right off Main Street. If you turn on Dearman Street, it's at the end of the road there. It's in the 2F2 family district. It's a one family home.
To be clear, that's South Dearman.
Yes, South Dearman. Apologies. It's a 2-story single family home, attached 2-car garage. The owner, Tom Willingham, who has owned the property since August 2021, he purchased it with the intention to live there, and he would like to future-proof the house he and his wife intend to put in place. And in order to do that, there are some slight modifications that need to be made to the property, just so that they can account for certain changes that have happened health-wise and otherwise since purchasing the property. Some of those changes, new primary bedroom suite on the first floor, a new set of stairs to facilitate safer access to the second level, the renovation to some of the first floor, a new roof over the existing entrance. There's certain things that I listed in the cover letter that the architects could dive further into if you have any questions on that. But that's basically where we are. And we acknowledge that in order to accommodate these changes, we are going to need two variances. We're going to need a coverage variance and a floor area variance. And we understand that that would probably be through the ZBA at some point. But we are here before the planning board today, and we'd like to thank you for giving us the time. And now I can pass it over to Mark Schulman from Design Development, the architect, who can dive into it a little bit further.
Thanks, George. I'm also joined here by Nicholas Marks, who he can share his screen, and I can walk you through the project. So this is our first time before you. So I can take you through a sort of a detailed overview, or I can give you a brief overview and save time for questions on the back end, whatever you would like. So feel free to cut me off if I'm talking too much, but I'll jump right in. So I think to George's point, full disclosure, this property was previously granted a variance for coverage and floor area. So that right now it exceeds coverage and FAR in its current condition. And we are here. We are asking for an increase on both of those. So ultimately, we will need to go back to zoning. So, but there's a reason for that, and that's what I really want to take you through. So first of all, this project, it's on approximately a third of an acre, and it's one of the largest properties in the village, is my understanding. It's tucked away at the end of Elm Park, and then there's a shared driveway component that takes you all the way to the back. The project is bordered, and Nick, maybe just an aerial on Google Earth. So I just want to show you where it is, so you can see Main Street to the north. So you come down Elm Park, and then there's a shared driveway. So you can see the property outlined in red. That's the property line. So the project is bounded by the aqueduct to the west, or on the left side of the sheet, the Irvington Estates apartment building to the south. There is a single family residence to the east, and another single family residence to the north. So it's a unique site. It's buried, and actually it's a wonderful, wonderful site. And I think this building has a lot of history. I'm sure you all probably know a lot more about it than I do, but it's pretty secluded. So to have this kind of access to Main Street and the aqueduct and have this kind of seclusion is a rare find. And I will tell you that Tom and Jean have been looking for a home for years, and it's taken quite some time, and they fell in love with Irvington and this home. And as George pointed out earlier, they have every intention on staying here and aging in the home. So that's the primary reason for the modifications that are being proposed here. So Nick, if you can jump to the floor plan, ground floor plan. So I'll take you here and show you what's proposed, and Nick can highlight some of the changes. But essentially, first and foremost is that we're trying to get a primary bedroom suite on the ground floor. It does not exist right now down there. The existing primary bedroom is up on the second floor. So the primary goal here is to locate that on the ground floor with access to the kitchen, the dining, and the living area. There is we're also looking to modify. There are two staircases. So above the ground floor, there are essentially two wings. There's a stair here to the left, a proposed stair to the left, and a proposed stair to the right. There are existing stairs in place, but we're actually at the client's request looking to make them much safer, wider treads, a little more width, easier to access the second floor. We're also locating a laundry room on this ground floor as well. So, Nick, so what I want to show you is we are
Excuse me.
actually
Hold on,
extending.
what's the room on the big room to the southeast there?
To the southeast. So there's a garage on lower left is a garage.
Yep, I got it.
Yep, 2-car garage, and off of that is you'll see an office space, an existing office space there to the left, and off that is a covered porch. So so Nick, if you can highlight the extension for the primary bedroom suite. So we're looking to add to the home a 1-story addition, and that location there highlighted with the red square. And that would allow us to create a master bedroom suite with that is a walk-in closet, a bathroom, and a den. It's large, but it's also designed so that it can be used in the future by a caretaker. And the key here also is accessibility across the board. So the kitchen's been redesigned, and we're trying to create an environment where you truly can live here for an extended period of time. And if help is required, we're also making accommodations for that up on the second floor. So and even on the first floor. So that den is convertible. It's very easy to have a caretaker or somebody to support the family in a location like that, close to the sleeping quarters. So what happens is now with the extension of the master bedroom, we create in essence, a courtyard there. And what you see there, so we're taking advantage of that open space and trying to create, again, a courtyard, outdoor, usable outdoor space, which certainly adds to our coverage calculation, and then a private patio just south of that master bedroom suite. And the other three more changes here. We are proposing a covered entryway. Right now, the existing residence has no coverage over that entrance. So as you approach with packages, your keys, and you're fiddling around, you are exposed to the elements. So we are proposing modification of a flat roof, which frankly does not tie into the architecture of the building, which is quite nice. So we're proposing a new roof on top of that entry portal with a Dutch hip that ties into the balance of the building, and I can show you that later. The stair that you see there off to the left, that's enclosed there, that is actually utilizing existing covered porch space. So it's existing coverage, but we are adding to the floor area with that bump out there to accommodate that stair. It's a switchback, so you go up, you have a landing, and then you go up again, and you get to the second floor. And then in the rear left of the sheet, we are proposing a modification to the stair that accesses the basement. Since Tom and Jean have purchased the house in August, virtually every substantial rainfall has created flooding in the lower level, and it's created a lot of damage and a lot of expense for them. So Brian, our site engineer, is on the line. I'll let him walk you through the strategy behind that, but we are proposing a reconfiguration and access to that stair. There is an existing stair that takes you down to that lower level. And lastly, off that kitchen space, we're proposing a new door to a deck with steps down to a patio for a barbecue area. And so it's pretty substantial in terms of the modifications being proposed. But I think for the most part, it is really to ensure that there is, let's call it easy living as you age into this home.
You
I'll
just
read,
mentioned the door from the kitchen to the deck that goes down to the barbecue, moving a little bit to the left. Are those steps new in deck?
those, so the deck is new, the patio is new. The steps that take you to the basement, there are existing steps that go to the basement from that location. Nick, can you just show the existing condition, please? The survey would be fine. The survey will show the existing condition. So what you see there at the top of the page are steps that lead to a walkway, and they're sort of very wide, very deep steps that take you all the way down to that basement location. And they're flanked by essentially raised planters on both sides. So what's been happening is that when with a not even a substantial rainfall, even we're not looking at anything too substantial. But when you get a heavy amount of rain, it collects, it flows down those stairs like a waterfall on a river, and gathers at the bottom of that. There's a door at the bottom of that. If you can go to the lower level, Nick, there we go. So at the bottom of that, that stair is a door to the basement. So the water actually creates a lot of pressure right up against, it piles up right up against that door and blows the door open, and has flooded the basement several times. So we are looking to make some modifications to our stormwater situation.
Well, I don't know, I didn't look too closely. There's, you got a new roof and new patios, creating new impervious areas that gotta drain somewhere.
Yes, and I will let, again, Brian, who has designed our stormwater system, I will let him walk you through that, but that has all been taken into consideration in this application.
Why don't he do that?
What's that?
Why doesn't he do that?
Brian, do you want to comment on that now?
Sure. Good evening. For the record, Brian Hildenbrand. In the rear yard, as we're discussing now, there is an existing infiltration system. Currently, and part of the reason for its failure is that at the bottom of the basement stairs we're discussing is a sump pump that's undersized and just not a well-designed system currently. So we're going to reroute the roof leaders and ensure that the intended water gets to that rear infiltration system. Also, to mitigate the increase in impervious in the front, there's another existing dry well in the front yard that system will be supplemented by infiltration chambers to collect and treat the roof increase as well as the driveway impervious increase.
Okay, William, did you take a look at that? I don't see it on.
We saw that they have engineering plans that show the proposed drainage. We reviewed that and have made some comments on it.
Okay.
If I may, I think before you get to that, I just want to explain an additional change which is reflected in this drawing, which is also important to note. So right now, the existing driveway, it's a shared driveway. It's relatively steep. You can see the grading across that driveway. And the existing driveway does not allow a panel truck or a 30-foot panel truck, which would be your FedEx, your UPS, a delivery truck, cannot get down into this driveway and turn around and get back out. And if you have a car in the driveway, impossible. So what ends up happening quite frequently is that these vehicles park at the top of the driveway, and they have to walk down the driveway to get access. So you can imagine in the winter, we can imagine we haven't gone through a full winter yet here, but in the short time that Tom has been here, it has created some problems. You also can't get emergency vehicles down here as well. So there's no ability to articulate. So the other proposed modification is a change in the driveway, and this is the proposal. So this allows cars to be in the driveway and away from where a panel truck can articulate. So you can come down, the FedEx, the UPS guy, Prime, whoever it is, can come down with the panel truck, pull into the driveway. Brian has run the truck articulation diagrams so that we know that we have the ability to get in and pull back out without leaving the truck at the top of the driveway. It is a shared driveway. We have a neighbor to the east. We've had a couple of occasions where we blocked their driveway, unfortunately. So we're trying to, again, we're trying to accommodate some of these difficulties here with this proposal. So that also factors into the site modification. So Brian, I'll let you carry on.
Okay, I have some comments on what you presented so far. We have some coverage issues, and the two patios. I would reconsider both of them to cut down on the coverage. I'm not sure you need two or as big as the courtyard. And did you do any alternatives to living quarters downstairs other than the increase, the new master bedroom that is rather large? That was another question. And I'm not sure if you realize it, but the demonstration of the two cars parking there, I know our code allows for driveways not to be coverage, but parking areas are coverage. So that would be part of the coverage. And you mentioned two variances. There's a third variance. You're in the aqueduct buffer in the back, that stair, and some of the activity, which there's a deck that's going to exceed the height or at the height of the wall back there. And that would be a concern for the serenity of the aqueduct. I mean, the house is already well and right against the aqueduct. It should the architect should, or the engineer should show a red line of the Broadway buffer on the plan so we can see.
Aqueduct buffer, Susan.
I'm sorry, aqueduct buffer.
Yeah. They're also an encroachment to the rear yard setback.
Yeah.
These are the setbacks.
All right, but
Even
there's an
the
aqueduct
front addition is the rear yard.
There's the aqueduct buffer that you have to deal with, and you need a variance from us and DBA. And it's problematic because there's an activity that's higher than the wall on the deck, and it needs to be addressed. And the parking spaces, that's coverage. And as I mentioned, not sure you need the little patio to the east off the front of the house and the courtyard. I don't remember if there was a door to the courtyard, so the bedroom can access the patio that you call the courtyard, and whether the courtyard needs to be big as it is, because you have considerable coverage issues on this site with the parking area and the new bedroom and the new patios.
Okay. Duly noted. I think that, all right, so I think we understand that. The one thing that I believe, just relative to the new proposed deck coming off of the kitchen, the elevation of that deck is lower than the height of the wall along the aqueduct. So you will not be able to see that deck from the aqueduct. But it doesn't mean you couldn't see a person standing on the deck. So, but we'll get, I think what we need to do is show a section through the wall along the aqueduct, that patio and the stairs, so that you can understand better that relationship.
Right. The deck is it's just a landing. It's not is it something The
That's
table
correct.
gonna, excuse
It's
me?
just a landing. It's just a landing to come out, out from the kitchen, down those steps to a patio where we would have a grill.
But you need to demonstrate that and do what you
Right.
said.
Yeah,
Correct.
there you go. There you go. So you can, so in that, so this is a view looking at that south elevation. You can see the door to the right coming off the kitchen, essentially that landing and the stairs, and you see the elevation of that patio. And there you see the height of the wall up against the aqueduct.
You mentioned is the barbecue existing on that patio?
No, there is no patio back there right now. That was, so the hope is that we could, client would love to grill and have close access to the kitchen. So the thought was that you would be able to come right off that kitchen, right down the steps to a patio that had a grill on that.
Well, now you're talking more activity in the aqueduct buffer, the
Okay.
barbecue.
Okay.
You
This
should-
is all helpful. This is our first time presenting this and getting feedback. So I appreciate all the feedback, and we'll have to take all this back and sit with our client and decide how they want to proceed.
Caesar, could I mention another important thing?
Sure.
We didn't talk about it, the Han memo notes that this is in the historic district, but I just checked the list of contributing buildings, and this is considered a contributing building in the historic district. I mean, it's not considered, it's on the list of contributing buildings in the historic district. And before you can, and I'll come back to the word demolish any building in the historic district, you need an ARB approval to do that. Now, demolish is defined as pulling down, destroying, removing, or relocating a substantial portion of a building or any portion of an exterior wall, porch, or portico facing a public way, or 50% or more of the footprint of a building is measured in plan, or 50% more of the exterior walls of a building. So you look at that code section, it's 224-197, which defines, it's not actually, it isn't necessarily to demolish it. It's, look at the definition of demolish. And if this fits within that, then it really has to go to the ARB first before, as sort of a threshold before they could make any changes at all.
Are you saying it does, and they should go to the ARB before they come back with the changes we're discussing?
Well, what they have to do, if this constitutes a demolition as defined in this thing, you have to get approval from the ARB. So if they don't get approval from the ARB to do that, then everything else could just be a waste.
Right. Okay, that's something for you to chew on, the applicant.
Okay, yeah, we'll look at that demolition definition, and we'll make a determination on that. I can so I can tell you that based on the building massing, essentially with that extension or the addition for the master bedroom, and maybe I think maybe the easiest thing for us to show you are the renderings that we have produced. Nick, can you just take us to those renderings, because that picture's worth 1,000 words. So the structure you see to the left is that garage on the lower level, and then there's a second level wing, as I was telling you about, and then we can probably toggle between the existing photos and the proposal, and then just to the right of the garage. So no modifications there, with the exception of a couple tweaks on the windows on that north wall. There are currently no windows into the garage, so those two windows, the windows there, will provide some light into the garage, and our intention is to match the existing windows. Those are existing. It's a Dutch hip roof with an exposed rafter, which is quite beautiful. And our intention is to use that same detail for the roof overhang on the entry. If you see the roof overhang on the entry now, it's a flat, kind of contemporary alteration that was made. And maybe we can show the existing photo, Nick. I just would like you to see that, because I think we're actually making an improvement to the architecture And I think it's more appropriately tied into the context of the building. But I'll let you be the judge of that. So what you see there looking west, that is the existing entrance into that foyer. It's got a flat roof. It's got a flat, very sort of contemporary roof. And we think it's out of place relative to the context of the balance of the building. So that's why we are proposing this a smaller Dutch hip to match the rest of the architecture. And then to the right, the extension, you can see in the existing photo, the Dutch hip above the second floor. That extension will also have the same Dutch hip, same finishes, same window typology. Nick, if you can just go back to the rendering, please. So you can see there, same, same architecture in essence. And then on the south, on that, we have a perspective from the south. You can see the balance. So here you see the existing, it was a carriage house historically. There is an existing wall along the aqueduct, and you can see, so there's a section of stair that is enclosed. The stair, you can see the small landing coming off of the kitchen. 2 new windows that are on that south wall there as well. Again, the idea is that the fenestration ties in with the balance with the steps down to a patio. You also see the steps that go down to the basement in their new configuration. There's a new window proposed on the second floor of the existing second floor on the left. So yeah, it's a little bit of a hodgepodge of windows right there on the existing condition. So that actually is the only place in this house where you actually have a view of the Hudson River. So it's such a beautiful site, such a beautiful location. We wanted to take advantage of that view, but no other changes to the massing of that existing, that existing wing and second floor, just to the windows.
This is along the aqueduct. This is facing the aqueduct?
That's correct.
This is right here, this white mass in front of the door is
that is the aqueduct. And it pitches down, right? So there's a slope up to that wall, down to the path.
Correct.
No, the reason I'm asking is because the aqueduct, I believe, is a public way, and I think you're making changes on a wall facing a public way, so you have to look more closely and I guess maybe discuss it with that, but I think this is one of the things that should get preliminary approval from the ARB.
Okay. Our assumption is that obviously we have to go back to ARB, right?
Yeah, no, this is different than your regular ARB review. There's ARB review on every house, but if it's contributing building in the historic district, before you make any of these changes, the ones I described, you have to get permission to do it at all from the ARB, which is different. And then you subsequently have to get approval from them from whatever you're going to do.
After planning and zoning.
Right.
Understood.
So if I understand the sequencing right, so the idea would be to go to the ARB with this application next, or it's a question, ARB, and then come back to you, and then to zoning, and then back to ARB, or once we go to ARB once, we don't have to go back, assuming that we go through planning and zoning.
I think I heard from the chairman that he'd like to see alternatives before you jump to the ARB.
So let's talk about relative to the alternatives.
Ed, I mean, okay, yeah, that's true. We may not need the new bedroom. Okay.
So we and that's
but my bigger concern is I don't think the alternatives would be affected by the changes he's making along the aqueduct, right?
No, that's true. So he has to go.
Like I said, I would just be afraid that they'd have to go back to the ARB a second time for just historical district. We can get them on the agenda so it works for them.
Okay.
I mean,
this is
not to hold it up.
Yeah, this is one of those difficult applications that goes back and forth, and that's.
Let me look at the schedule, Mary Ann.
Right,
I think it probably works anyway that they'd come back here before they get on an ARB agenda.
okay.
So, but I'll look at the schedule carefully so that we can make sure we can put a placeholder for them there.
Okay.
Appreciate
So-
it. And obviously we'll look into the definition of demolish and the, you know, along the public way and everything to determine if that, the first ARB trip is
Yeah, well,
necessary.
exactly,
Yeah.
George. Yeah. I'm not, this just occurred to me. We didn't talk about it at the pre-planning board meeting.
There's a lot of paths that this could go through. So
Yeah.
we'll figure out that path and we'll speak to you guys and we'll figure it out and we're more than willing to do everything that's necessary.
George, I just want to point out one thing, and Mr. Chairman, you brought up an excellent point. So this wasn't our first choice. We started on this project in August, and we're prepared to make an application actually back in December. But since then, I think we have made probably this is probably our 15th iteration on this plan, and we looked at initially putting the primary bedroom suite on the second floor over the garage, but that would require an elevator, and that also takes you away from sort of the primary living space. So it's not an ideal situation for our client. The existing footprint or within the existing envelope on that ground floor between the garage and the office, and the way it was that space was chopped up. And the living space is perfect, but there wasn't enough footprint to accommodate a master bedroom suite in the existing building to the right. So we have explored other options and bringing that to the second floor, but per our client, it's highly inconvenient for them to do that, which is why you're looking at the latest and greatest iteration. From their perspective, this works for them. They're very happy with this proposal, and they think that this is going to certainly contribute to their quality of life moving forward. An elevator, I'll tell you, that's not even an option for them. They won't even consider. They have, and we've gone down that road, and we had an elevator consultant come in, and we talked at great length how it would work, but there's a lot of concern about that separation of sleeping space and living space and the convenience of living. So we've exhausted the second floor as an alternate for the primary living space, bedroom space.
Well, I think you should include the alternative search that you made. And if you already did the alternative search and you arrived at the bedroom, it sounds like you really need to look at the definition of taking that wall down that will necessitate the new bedroom, and whether or not that's an ARB jurisdiction. Since you already have to go to the ARB for those desired windows, it may be just a good idea to just go to the ARB first and try out that the windows and look at that bedroom, going through the existing front wall, and whether or not the historical district definition meets that. So you have coverage issues, and don't forget we mentioned that those patios add to the excessive coverage that you're looking for, as well as that parking area, the new parking area, not the hammerhead for the turnaround,
okay,
but where you where you demonstrated two parked cars. The driveways, as you know, in our code, it does not get added to coverage, but parking areas do, and it's obviously a parking area. So that would be that's more coverage than you already presented, which is kind of on the high side because of the new bedroom and the large patios.
Got it. Okay. Understood. So I think that's the sort of the brief overview on the application.
I had a thought on the drainage. Just, when I was out there, it's at the bottom of the hill, as you pointed out. And the old water flows downhill. And William, is there going to be a problem with, it's at the bottom of a hill. Now you mentioned the aqueduct. Is the aqueduct higher than the house or lower than the house? I didn't go walk. Mike, you walked back there. What's the story with the aqueduct? Mike Smith.
Well, when you're on the aqueduct, you do see the house above you. So, but yet I don't know whether the path on the aqueduct is actually lower than the entrance to the house.
It is. It's substantially lower than the entrance to the house.
Yeah.
You can sort of see it here in this view to the left, top left.
Show that cross section when we asked about the little deck and walkway down to where the barbecue.
Okay.
Sorry, it's just loading.
I'm going to poll the board for comment in a minute, but I just want to see this. Bring it up a little bit. I can't see it. If you in that cross section, in addition to adding the barbecue, which is a problem because it's an activity in the buffer, if you could put the cross section of the aqueduct in that picture.
Okay.
Yes. Will do. Okay. We can extend that section all the way to include the aqueduct.
Right. Okay. Let me ask the rest of the board if they have any comments. Mike, I asked you first, so you got any other further comment?
Yeah, I do. So I do have a question. Let's leave this drawing up. What is, and I'm looking at this new decking and the stairs leading out to a new patio. What is there now?
So right now, if you go back, Nick, if you can take us back. So along this area is the walk. So there's a long walkway. It's a stair that takes you down to the basement and is flanked by two raised.
Do you have to have a picture of it, a photograph of it?
Yeah. I think we should.
Okay.
Here, it's cut off. It is not part of this application, but
All right. We'll
I
have
can
to
provide it.
We can get an additional photo of that. But if you look at the plan, I apologize, we don't have that little blurry, but you'll see that L-shaped walkway with steps that take you down to the basement. And again, right up against the house is a planting area. And then just south of the L is another small, looks like it was an herb garden in both locations there. Yeah.
Maybe if you could show elevate, much like you showed the elevation of the proposal, show an elevation of the existing.
Do you know whether that, I'm assuming that the last time this was renovated was 2008, 2009?
That's about right.
Right. So
Yeah.
was this area, do you know whether this area was part of the application, the 2008, 2009 application?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody else on the team knows. I'm not aware that this was part of that application.
All right.
Ed, do you know?
I can pull the application tomorrow when I get in the office and send it out.
Okay.
And I know that the application was based, the written application, and I know that the introductory remarks, we're talking about trying to have this as age in place. And I want to distinguish between issues that might arise years from now and more immediate issues. So how much of the additional well, let's take one at a time. Is all of the increase in FAR, because there's about a 12% increase in FAR, is all of that increase due to more immediate health issues?
That's a good question. It is, I think that if we could bring that up offline, which we can do that with our client. I think we can address that.
Okay. And how much of the additional coverage would you say is related to something more immediate rather than some other preference? So for example, you said about the altering the driveway because you can't have deliveries coming in. Well, that's a different issue. Or the desire to have the patio in front of what you want to have the master bedroom. That's a different issue.
Yes.
Or it may not be a different issue.
Right.
So-
Yes. So I would say I would say that, having that second patio off the master bedroom suite, that's not a necessity, right? That's a luxury. I would say that, we can probably, as has been suggested, reduce the amount of pervious area on that. It's a nice courtyard feature, I think, but maybe the whole thing doesn't need to be paved. Maybe it's considerably more landscaping in place, and there's something else that we can do there. So I think that at your suggestion, the board's suggestion, I think we can probably reduce the coverage here. Outside of the garage are critical. There are 2 cars in the garage. If a guest come, they park there. I can tell you, our team has been there numerous times, and we have to back out of the driveway. Very, very difficult to articulate. Forget about a panel truck. A standard car. Very, very difficult to articulate. You have to back out of that driveway.
Not even the driveway, Mark. Sorry to interrupt you, but there's been numerous times where we had to back up and could not do a 3-point turn on that street because there is street parking on South Dearman, and you'd have to actually back up all the way to Main Street and pull out onto Main Street. So that's not, as a public standpoint, that's not safe at all. Not just for the client, but for anyone who's on South Dearman.
You have the turnaround hammerhead on the north side.
Yes.
To indicate what you're talking about. And
Right.
then
So the idea. Yep. But if you had a guest, so if there is a guest, which there often would be, and if there is live-in help, there will be a car in the driveway, and if you were to only have the hammerhead, you can't articulate with a car in the driveway. Even with a hammerhead, you've got to be able to pull a vehicle to out of the way in order for that hammerhead to be utilized. So it's why we show those 2 parking spaces in the proposed. Nick, if you can just go back to the proposed modifications.
Yeah, I didn't say you couldn't have the parking area. All I said.
Okay, it's just part of the coverage. Yeah,
It's
it's
part of the
now, it
coverage.
has to be calculated as coverage. Got it.
Now, it may come to pass that the coverage becomes excessive. That's why you're going to look at the east patio and the
Yeah.
courtyard.
Yep.
And actually the size of the bedroom too.
Okay.
Now, I do want to reiterate that as Mark indicated earlier, the coverage thing with the patios, that's something that maybe we can look into. But my understanding is, Mark, you spoke to this earlier with the multiple, attempted revisions at this, that the floor area of the house in terms of bedroom, in terms of the extra staircase or the wider staircase rather, whatever the case may be for wheelchair accessibility and ability to age in place. My understanding is that if this isn't the absolute, minimum, it's close to the minimum. And I know that might sound crazy because of the size of the bedroom, for example, but obviously, and we'll obviously discuss this, take it back and discuss this, but in terms of the interior aspect of the house, I think that has been tried and tested to make it as absolutely minimal as possible.
That you need to present that then, okay?
Yes, of course.
I was going Mike, you finished with your comments?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things, just one more, I mean, recognizing that there was a major renovation in '08, which increased the FAR greatly. So you're starting off with a structure that has more floor area than it's already a variance, and it's probably, I think it was 57% over allowable is what you're asking for, and 12% over existing, so.
Right, that's correct. Right, we already started off with an existing condition that was excessive on both FAR and coverage. I think the only, and again, I know we're talking about numbers, but I would look at it slightly different, and maybe that is completely irrelevant, but given sort of the exclusive nature of this property, it does not have, there's no public impact. And again, I'm sure the public is here, and I don't know if anybody's waiting to talk about this project, but it's a very unique site. It's very secluded, and this. I don't think there are major public impacts or impacts on the neighbors, but I won't speak for the neighbors. But it's not. It's an unusual site. I'll say that in the village.
I agree. I didn't even know it was there, and I'm here 35 years. Anyway.
I mean, if you haven't had a chance to go in and take a look at it, it's shocking, and it's really it's a gem of a site in a beautiful town and village. It's really unique, and I think that what's being proposed here only makes this a better property in the village for certainly for our clients and for the
future owners.
Well, you need to look at what we already discussed, and let me continue the rest of the board. Mike, you done there?
I am. Thanks.
Yeah.
Pretty much, Caesar, you covered a lot of issues. Marianne, mentioned the issues going on as well, and Mike just mentioned the concerns we have as well. So I have nothing further to add.
Lori?
Yeah, I have a bunch of questions, actually. I really don't understand the basement situation, but I think if you take more photos and maybe do like the new plan, old plan overlay or something, that would help, because I don't understand what's going on with the back stairs or that whole area. So that would be for the next time.
And Lori, that relates to the aqueduct buffer, the back stairs, correct?
Yes, yeah, and I know this site really well, and the ground does slope from the wall of the house to the aqueduct. I'm back there often. I don't really buy the argument about the driveway and the truck turning around, because this house has been here for a long time. And if this really bothers your neighbor to the east, like, I would need evidence of that. And this was an existing condition with deliveries for whoever lived there before, and it's a lot of driveway. So that definitely, that's something that I would struggle with. In terms of aging in the home, I actually have a lot of, experience with that. I was on a nonprofit for 12 years that addressed that issue. So there are lots of ways to age in a home, and there are other ways besides an elevator to get up and down stairs. So, I'm not, if the stairs are part of an FAR issue, there are other ways to work through that. I'm a little confused with the front door. Is that you said there's no coverage over the front door right now? Is there no roofing above it at all?
No,
it's
no
a little
roofing
hard to
above it
tell
yet.
from the photo. Or
Yeah,
is
yeah.
there a little bit and you just want to extend it more?
No, there's no roof over the entrance.
Well, not roof. I just mean like, does that jut out at all or not really?
No,
It's
it's
just
completely-
more decorative.
Just decorative.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
a
okay,
few inches. Yeah.
okay. I couldn't tell from the photo. And I also don't think it's a good argument to say that like more coverage isn't going to impact the neighbors. There are plenty of homes in this town that are on bigger plots, and everybody still has to make an argument as to why they should be allowed to increase their coverage. So that's the case for everybody. So I struggle a little bit with that, but you know, and I can see like you want a front courtyard because you don't have a real backyard. I don't begrudge that at all. I think that's actually a good solution because you really don't have space in the back. That improvement makes a lot of sense to me. And I think that was it for now.
And sorry, apologies. We appreciate all those comments. I'm writing everything down, so we will address it. I just want to clarify the thing about the more coverage won't impact the neighbors. I don't think we don't necessarily mean that you know, this is secluded, so we could do whatever we want. Absolutely not. We know that. We know there's a village, and we know this is how it works. I think it's more of this property, the way it is, its location, its design, its intended purpose. I think we're sort of just suggesting that maybe looking at it in terms of pure percentage isn't necessarily the most applicable way in terms of coverage, floor area, whatever the case may be, just because it is a little different. And I think that's different from saying that we don't, you know, because of its location, we don't care about how much coverage there is. We absolutely do care. And I apologize if I misunderstood the comment too. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I just think that what we're saying is it sort of has to be viewed in like a quasi vacuum kind of sense, merely because of it's not, you know, it's not on top of a hill. It's not like a castle, you know, a fort at the top of the hill overviewing the whole village kind of thing. That's all we're saying.
I understand what you're saying, but every homeowner comes to the board with the same situation. So.
Absolutely. I just wanted to clarify that we don't want to make it seem like we are saying, oh, we should be treated differently or we shouldn't have to go through the process or anything. I want to make that very clear. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, thank you. Kevin?
I don't have anything to add. I mean, I think we covered an awful lot, and so I'm going to leave it there.
Okay.
Caesar, Mr. Willingham has, he's in the chat room there.
I'm not finished.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
There's a couple of smaller items other than the coverage and the FAR. You need a planting plan. You're taking some trees out. You got to show us trees going back in. That's one of the requirements that you should have. There's a 20-inch maple and a 10-inch other tree. And I hope you're aware that our village has ordinance for dark sky compliance. So those are two other. We pay attention to it. It's not as critical as the coverage of the bar and the aqueduct, but it is something that we look at. Okay, thank you very much. Sarah, any public?
Yes, the homeowner has their hand raised to speak.
Hello, you're Sarah. Did you hook him in?
Yes. He's on mute. He has to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, this is Tom Willingham. I appreciate your time. We purchased a house in August, and we have had quite a few issues since then with flooding in the back. But the only thing I wanted to comment on was both of us are in our 70s. And this is pretty unusual. I mean, most people in their 70s don't entertain this type of thing. We had originally lived in Bedford and sold our house and moved into White Plains in an apartment and didn't like it, and have searched for this for a long time. And since there are a few things that have happened, I'm gonna say this in the best way that I can. We've had some health issues since August, which have made it a very big difference in our lives, which I really don't want to speak about it in this situation, but it affects things like stairs. It affects quite a bit of what we're doing, including the bedroom. Mark could probably explain that offline. There is more to it than what appears here. We actually have not moved into the house. We were in the process of moving in, and we had to stop it right in the middle. And I can't unfortunately explain that totally, but I'm kind of going through sort of a slight crisis here, and which I think will be worked out. But the house we had a lot of thought went into, after the closing, whether we should even go forward. And that's why we've had so many reiterations and so much thought has gone into this. The one comment, I won't just ramble here. The one comment that was made about the driveway, I think if the board came down and drove and it came to the house, pulled into the driveway, you would not be saying that the driveway is fine. I don't think it would take anything more than just a visit. The driveway is not manageable at all. And the previous owner, who I became very friendly with, Alan Hyatt, I guess their personality was not to make a deal out of it, but they mentioned to us when we were buying the house, the driveway, and it is very, very difficult. It's downhill. It's very, very tight, and you can't get a truck in. When we had our moving van come in, they could not get down the driveway and ended up blocking both driveways above us. So that is an issue. The other thing is that there's really two houses that we can see from our front yard. And in both neighbors we've talked to, and unless they haven't told me all their feelings, they seem completely fine with what we're doing. There are no other neighbors that can even see our house. So I just wanted to make that clear also. That's really it. I just wanted to put my 2 cents out. I feel I wasn't planning on speaking, but I just thought I would say that. It's we really love Irvington, and this has been a long process for us, and we're really hoping that we can work this out, because the house really doesn't work for us the way it is now, unfortunately, and it is because of a change that happened, in July and August, unfortunately. So that's about it.
Related to the driveway, if you recollect, I didn't say you couldn't have it. I just said it has.
Oh, I know that. Well, I'm not sure who said it, but I think one person said that they had seen the driveway and that it really was not an issue. But it really actually is. It's a very awkward setup. The other thing I wanted to mention too is that the variances that were put in 2008 and 10, the owner then, who I have spoken to and spoke to him before I bought the house, you may know who he is. He was a builder. He planned on living in the house the rest of his life, and he's a little bit of a quirky fellow, and there's a lot of quirky things about the house. So it's a great house, but it's not suited for the average person. for the average family. It's just very, very unusual. And we're trying to make it more suitable for living. I love the house, and my wife does too, but it is a very unusual house and kind of an awkward house to live in. So I just wanted to
Okay,
say,
thank you very much.
okay, appreciate it.
Sarah, any other public? Sarah?
Sorry, I was muted. There's nobody raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
Ed, did you check the calendar for the ARB? Can they come back before going to the ARB?
Yeah, I have to look at it tomorrow. I have,
They also have to confirm that they have to go, Caesar. I mean,
yeah,
it's,
we got a few things to look at. I gotta look at the old site plan as well.
Marianne, I think you said because of the windows facing the aqueduct that they.
well,
Marianne and I have to talk about it tomorrow.
I think. I mean,
I don't want to make a hasty decision.
Okay. All right, so stay tuned.
We'll get in touch with them.
Okay.
All
of the applicants, stay tuned on whether you need to go to the ARB first before.
Yeah, well, and also the applicant should take a look at the definition of it. And you guys will understand whether the work you're doing fits into
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We'll take a look at all of that, and then from there, I guess that will determine, like we said, is it ARB, then planning board, then zoning, then ARB, or what the process is. But we'll be in touch, Marianne, Ed, and we'll figure this out. We'll take a look at this, and we'll communicate and figure it out.
Yeah.
All right, one last chance to the board. Anybody being what you heard so far? Mike, Dan, Lori, Kevin?
Nothing further for me.
All good here.
Lori? Lori?
I'm good, thank you.
Kevin? Okay.
Oh, thanks.
I have nothing further. We'll see you next time, either before you go to the ARB or after you go to the ARB, depending on.
Much appreciated. Thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate all the comments, all the questions. We'll address everything. We'll be in contact, and we wish you a good night. Have a great rest of your evening.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm thinking whether we should take a quick break. We got 2 more to go. How about 5 minutes? Come back at 10 after, 4 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Sarah, we're gonna come back at 10 after.
Okay.
I'm still not done with 2 more applications. It just took a quick break. Let's get to what's here. No, I'm not down to my album.
Oh, okay, it's 10 to 10. Everybody back? All right, we finished with 20 Elm Park. The next one is 20, Sarah, you back?
I'm here.
Okay, we're moving on to 2022-04, 39 Beechwood Road.
Hello, it's John again, Ferguson Lawn Architecture representing the Larks. This project is for the expansion of an existing house on Beechwood. The house is currently a contemporary from the 80s or 90s. The client is has lived there for a while and is trying to correct and improve the house. Quickly to go through what is driving the renovation of the house. They're looking on the first floor to improve. There's a very small kitchen, and they would like sort of an open kitchen living area. So we're expanding the kitchen out to this line here, where part of the existing deck is. And then also the existing dining room was added onto with a pier-based construction, and it's failing. The footings are failing, and this portion of the dining room needs to be rebuilt. And then on the second floor, it has a very awkward staircase condition on the second floor, but we're trying to improve that a little bit, provide for a bathroom that doesn't include washer and dryer and a separate laundry room, improve the primary bedroom bathroom is very awkward, as you can see, with a tiny shower and strange condition. That's to be improved. And then there's some double height spaces that we're making use of in the new building. The existing bedrooms, the kids' bedrooms, are being expanded slightly. So right now the house is this configuration, this sort of style. It's a contemporary, which is not in the client's taste. So we are looking to modify it into a more classical mode for the house. One of the other improvements is to expand the garage. So if I show you quickly the plan. So the model for the house, this would be the elevation that faces Beechwood. This is the elevation that faces the rear yard. So we're trying to simplify the volumes so that it looks more like a colonial or Georgian house with simplified volumes. The dining room is being developed kind of as sort of a sunroom language, and then there's a cover over the patio outside the family room. The plan changes are, quickly you see this is on the facing the rear yard. There's an open kitchen that open into an open eating area, like a breakfast area, and a family room. So that's sort of the way, a more modern way to live there, with some pantry and butler's pantry storage. Dining room is in the same place. The living room is actually being reduced slightly to provide a powder room on the ground floor. And then there's a mud room being added in this area because there's no real mud room that's related to the garage space. The garage is being expanded a few feet because it's really, it's not a two bay garage the way it is right now. It's one of those ones that's a little too narrow. You could put 2 cars in, but then there's not circulation space around or space for garbage. So that's the approach to the house. In terms of its site,
you're moving the fireplace from one side of the house to the other?
It's basically the fireplace is being abandoned in the existing family room, and they're adding a fireplace to the to the west side of the house where the living room is. That fireplace won't be a true masonry fireplace. It'll be a, you know, a fireplace unit that'll, you know. So then in terms of the effect on coverage, if we look here, in terms of coverage, this deck, this area of the deck is being, you know, effectively infilled by new building. The patio is being moved over here, and the walkway, we're showing a walkway connecting the mudroom to the patio on the side. There's existing play structure and retaining walls, and that's being replaced, and the client would like to pursue a pool. So the majority of the coverage increase is actually, I mean, the amount of coverage that's over allowable is related to the square footage associated with the pool. I think all of it is actually related to that.
Which is what?
The pool square footage for the pool is about 850, or it's about 750 for the pool, about 100 for the hot tub, and then various, you know, there's a retaining and pool equipment thing that's another 75, it looks like.
Well, okay, and what's the percentage? I have a number here, I don't know.
So so it's over 24% over allowable. The proposed coverage is 24% over. The existing coverage is 95% right now.
Okay.
So it's like 780 feet over, which is pretty roughly the pool size.
Yeah, that's I think most. So if you, right. And then in terms of FAR, we're still, with the additions, we're still under allowable. Oh, just quickly on coverage, to cover the notes, in the notes from Han's office, there is a retaining wall that isn't showing up on the site plan here. There's a little bit of a retaining wall that will be demolished as part of the proposed project, but we'll make sure that that shows in the existing coverage as part of the existing coverage. We'll make that modification. The in terms of FAR, we are still just below. We're going from 83% of allowable to 98% of allowable.
I have a note, maybe Ed can elaborate on it, that before.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah, that the FAR needs to be calculated, but from both the front and the back. So we'll confirm that there's no area associated with the rear yard. I was looking quickly after we got the notes, based on the elevations that we're seeing. We have spot elevations on the rear of the house. It would not count as FAR in the basement, but we can go check them on site with a tape measure and make sure.
Yeah, steps kind of, you know.
I gotta check and see. I'll put a tape measure.
Yeah, just confirm it.
Yeah, and it didn't occur to me to do from the front and the back because it's both fronts. So now I understand. I'll do that. So we'll pick up that change. I think otherwise, to go to, you know, we did provide a zoning analysis that focused on the coverage piece only, and there are, you know, 11 examples in the sample that we did of 26 that show buildings in similar coverage amounts. In terms of the site plan layout, there was a discussion about mitigating, you know, this is something we can go talk to Doug separately about, mitigating the stormwater associated with this proposed hammerhead on the garage. I just wanted to point out, if people did not notice it, that the garage is being reduced in width. So I'm not the garage, sorry. The driveway is being reduced in width. So the existing driveway is wider. So some portion of this additional driveway here is being offset by the reduction of the width of the driveway as it comes up.
John, did you look at the turning radiuses for that little hammerhead?
I haven't had time to look at it. We did a quick calculation when we examined it.
It looks pretty close to the driveway door.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to work better. You're not, in order to get a true back out from both bays, you'd have to have much more driveway space. So it's probably still going to be a 5-point from one of them. Like from this bay, I think it's still probably going to be a 5-point, but there's no way to get the car going out forward right now. So we'll look at the radiuses and make sure that at least the one from this bay should be a 2-point, not a 5-point. Other than that, the pool equipment, has been located within the pool setback. We've located the stormwater area. There was a few notes about the development of the stormwater system in terms of calculations and stuff. We couldn't get perks in the weather that we have right now, so we'll work on finalizing that.
Is that proposed retaining wall part of your coverage?
Yes, the retaining wall associated with the pool. It's basically replacing. There's an existing railroad tie retaining wall in this area, so that's replacing that.
Mm-hmm.
We're showing two different fence types. There's a solid fence around the rear yard in the area to protect to screen the pool from the adjacent yards. And then in the rear yard, which is also front, but in the rear yard where there's more planting and ability to screen, we're doing an open fence, just trying to, make it a little softer in that area.
Speaking of the side yards, you have screening from the side yards to the pool?
So the solid fence is what's being proposed to do that screening on the side yards. And then in the rear yard, there's more screening that is plant-based screening.
You could put a few plants so you're not staring at a fence?
Yeah, so I'll send pictures, and I think of what's there. There is, some screening in place on the side yards that isn't shown.
The pool is more closer to Osceola, so the planting you're showing doesn't extend down to the pool.
Yeah, hold on. Let me show you let me look at the Osceola ones. Hold on a second. Right, the Osceola. So the screening that we're showing there's new planting that went in along this line that is evergreen planting that is, will provide low screening. And these new trees here that are proposed that are part of a replant agreement will take care of high screening.
What about the right and left?
So the right and left is where the solid fence is. So there's a solid fence here and a solid fence on this side. So the open fence is supplemented by the planting, and the solid fence is relying on the solid fence for screening.
I don't know. I think you should put some planting in there. Anyway. I think you should consider some planting behind the fence. And then you said it's an open fence, right?
No, the open fence is here on the back line, Caesar, like here. So where the planting is in place. So the open fence is for pool safety, and the planting is acting as the screening basically on the side, on the south side.
The side fences are solid?
And the side fences are solid, yeah.
All right. Did you
I
show
think
root on the plans?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Did you show root protection? There's a tree somewhere in there that needs root protection during the. Let me just.
Should
be part of Suzanne's comments.
Yeah, I saw Suzanne's comments. I think we pick that up. I don't think we don't have root protection. We just have tree protection for the existing trees in the rear. I'll figure out what she's looking for root protection. It might be associated with.
Well, the root protection needs to be shown on the plans. That's all.
Right. Yeah, I haven't looked closely at the comments that she sent today or that you guys sent today. So I'll look at those. Is there? I'm trying to think. Do you want to? We can go through the comment. If there's anything else on here.
No, Hans' comments that you'll address.
Yeah, those we'll address once we actually get the design. Yeah, otherwise they're pretty easy to respond to.
Okay, let me Mike Smith.
I have no further comments.
Dan?
No questions, thank you.
Lori?
Can you remind me what size lot is this?
Yes. Neighborhood analysis.
It's just under 20, around 20,000, isn't it?
Yes, it's just over 20. So the neighborhood is generally a half acre, a 20,000 area lot, 20,000.
That's about a half acre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I couldn't find it in mine. Thank you.
All right, Lori,
That's it. Yeah.
Kevin,
No questions or comments. Thanks.
I have no further questions. Sarah, any public?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay, John, you have any questions? You need to come back with the FAR fixed and the driveway, the hammerhead looked at for turning.
Right, and we need to get you a stormwater plan anyway, so we'll be working on that piece.
Where the pool drainage is gonna go.
Correct. Typically for pools now, we have them drained to by truck, dewatered by truck if they have to dewater. And the new systems don't require flushing, so we'll clarify the pool equipment so it's clear that it doesn't drain.
When I drive around in September or October, I can see the pools running down the street, so.
Yeah, in a hose, yeah.
Okay.
John, you can identify a public drain and just do a dewater note instead of a truck.
Dewatering, yeah, dewater to the public.
Yeah, you can empty to a drain as long as you dewater for 10 days. No chemicals for 10 days.
Okay.
But it's the pulpitretti note, we call it.
Nice.
Well, the 10-day waiting period is for the chlorine to dissipate.
If you can identify a drain in the street, I prefer you do that, because no one's going to pump to the street. I pump at the tank anyway.
All right, okay.
The origin of the 10-day wait period was a mechanism to avoid getting a state pollution discharge permit.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think we can, I don't know. Maybe we can convince them to do a salt pool, but those have sort of fallen out of fashion. But yeah.
Yeah, they left fast.
Chlorine includes algicides and herbicides, so if they're
Right.
going to clean the pool and dump it down the street, that's not a good idea.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, we're good to move to the next step on this. It just, if you guys had anything else, we'll.
I think we're done. We did the public, there was no comment. We're done with this.
Good. So I'll stay on because I think I'm the last one.
Oh, well, then we don't have to repeat what we said about the other one.
Right.
Same questions, John. Cross
Yeah,
section.
I mean, we'll review them at the same time then, if you want. This project, just for other members of the board, so they understand it. It is different. It's using a different wall assembly than the other one. It's doing a gabion basket type assembly, which is similar to. There's an existing example. This is in the same neighborhood. I don't know if you guys can see that. That's what a gabion basket is. It's basically a wire mesh basket that's filled with stones. And you may have seen them, sometimes they're related to, they're used in like high modern stuff. People love them, but they're also used a lot in landscape and in highway and road design.
Well,
So,
on the Rockland side of the throughway, you can see them along the throughway.
yeah, and the benefit of that again is to mitigate like what you're moving, right? The baskets can be filled on site with smaller stuff, so there's not erosion. So that just so you know, there's two different approaches being proposed by the engineer. One is a gabion basket, which is similar to what's already happened in the neighborhood here, and then the other one, because of the height and of the slope there and the steepness of the slope, that's what led to the heavier CMU based approach.
John, where is that? John, just where is that photograph taken?
So this is, I'm in Google Street View. So this is actually Brook Place. So over here at Station Road, right?
Right. Okay. It's at the end of Brook Place. Okay.
The street used to be, it's George's. George.
Oh, I know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So where the damage is basically, this is the down here. This is the street. Basically behind this house and just over in this area. So that's where the two damaged areas are. And the damage, again, just for the other board members, the damage that happened at the Krasinski house was related to the tree the existing tree that fell on the Valencis's property fell over and crushed a retaining wall that was, there was basically a masonry bank to the stream. And that retaining wall was destroyed by the tree falling. And then once that tree destroyed the retaining wall, the brook did an eddy and pulled out the driveway and pulled out all of the soil associated with the Krasinski process. So there's some pictures again in the application that we sent that show the damage there. One of the things we can talk about offline is that there is no survey for that project. So there wasn't a survey of any existing conditions. And now all this stuff that's gone, we'll have to just estimate where that was.
Yeah, John, the survey you submitted shows less driveway than you showed on your site plan.
Yeah, that site plan was done by Cyrus. So I'm not sure where that information was or whether that was accurately measured.
Yeah, let's get out there with George and Doug as soon as possible.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, John, that driveway is the driveway to nowhere. I mean, the one that the stream collapsed the section of.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure the history of the driveway or that. I mean, I think we should talk about whether a survey is required, and we can do that when we meet, and if there's any other path to do it more quickly.
Yeah,
I think in terms of the impact, it is much a lower impact. It's more like what we're looking at here than the wall on the Valencis property.
Well, you know the questions, the cross section of the stream and wall, potential scouring underneath the wall, potential scouring behind the wall on the upstream side, and eddy on the down. If you push the water by a wall across to the other side, what happens? You need to look at all those things. And just the same things we did on 45 Station.
Okay. All right. So Ed, I'll get in touch with you about, or you can call me, whichever you want to do in terms of setting that one up.
Yeah, Doug won't be back till Monday, so
Okay.
we'll figure it out Monday.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll let you guys go unless there's anything else on this one.
Call the board and see if they have any comment. Mike,
Nothing further.
Dan,
No further questions.
Lori?
Sorry to hold everybody up. I do have a question. Is there any advantage to using the gabion basket besides the fact that you can sometimes use natural rock that's on site? Because the water might flow through it differently than the other wall that you showed us because there's more spacing in between the rocks. So it might not bounce back across the way.
Right. It is a softer surface in a way, right? It's a porous surface, so maybe it has a different impact on velocity. I haven't done any analysis to know about that, but like sort of from just a common sense idea, I think it would probably have a different, because there's more friction, right? It'd probably have a different effect on velocity than a smooth wall. I don't know what kind of analysis would be able to know. I mean, one of the things that's happened in Barney Brook is that there was an improvement to a culvert there. I'm not sure if that improvement to the culvert changed velocity, and I don't know why those gabion baskets that we were just looking at were there. Maybe when the culvert went in, that took that out. And then if you harden that, maybe that took out the next one. I think it's a hard problem because I think the analysis of, channel analysis and the hydrodynamic analysis is very complicated. So I'm not sure, where we'll end up. Okay.
Hey, Lori, you're okay with that?
Yeah, I was just kind of curious.
Were you thinking the hard wall on the previous application, it might be better if they use the gabions to address?
Well, I was kind of trying to.
Where you were going with?
I was trying to visualize that when he was showing us that one, but then I was also thinking like, I'm not really sure how well that could anchor because it's so sloped and muddy and I don't know. But
see, Cyrus is here if you wanted to speak with him about it. I think the reason he went to the other basket, I mean, from the basket to the wall was specifically about that, Lori, the weight. Like you just need so much weight in that location, and the other location, because of the height of the stream, of the height of the bank, you didn't need as much weight to resist. And so that's what stepped up. So I think, and then we'll speak about that with George or Doug, and that they can make their case for what that is. But I think a gabion basket approach may not be able to work on that other situation just because it might just get washed right down the stream. I don't know.
Okay. Laura, you okay with that?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Kevin?
I don't have any questions. It looks like the engineers raised their hand. Maybe you'll just address what we're talking about right now.
Okay. Sarah, anybody raise their hand? If the engineer has his hand up, we'll listen, and any other public will listen.
Yes, the engineer has his hand raised.
Hi, good evening. I'm assuming that we're gonna go through all the intricate details in our meeting next week.
Excuse me, could you identify yourself for the record?
Yeah, this is Cyrus Manduabi, Integral Engineering Services, 27 Main Street, Dobbs Ferry, New York. As you guys mentioned before, I think that we can go through all the intricate details with the town engineer, building inspector next week. But really, the main reason why the Valensis project is a little different and I had to use different building materials is really because of the bearing capacity of the soil. Well, I should say the assumed bearing capacity of the soil at the stream bed. So, the taller wall, you mentioned about scouring and additional erosion that may occur, during any flooding. But really the CMU, those big units distribute the load a little better. So that's why that was, that's really the main reason I wasn't comfortable designing a gaming basket wall that high up. But again, we can go through all the details next week.
You're going to do, you raised a good point, which I didn't think of. Soil analysis, is the soil dense enough?
Well, there would have to be, no matter what, there has to be a compaction effort. What that compaction effort is, that's something that I generally deal with the contractor based off of what equipment he has, what access is available to the site. But again, the foundation that was considered, is 12-inch big boulders, grouted, so that, it doesn't scour a road, but also has enough voids to let water, to dissipate and percolate through the wall.
Okay. Well, you have an engineering, it's more engineering than planning, so you need to meet with our engineers and come up with something that's not going to cause a problem across or downstream and is going to actually stay up.
That's the goal.
Yeah, those are all good goals. Yeah.
Sarah, anything else? Any other public?
No, no one else is raising their hand to speak, and there are no additional comments in the chat.
Okay, I think we covered all the comments based on what was explained by the engineer. Does the board have any additional questions? I won't poll, just speak up. No, okay. All right, I think we're done. That was number 13, and there is no 14, so we're done for the night. Thank you very much, John.
Thanks a lot.
Hi, John.
And thank you to the board and everybody that participated. Another long night.
Thank you, Cyrus, for sticking it out. I hope I didn't misspeak on anything.
Well, we'll make sure that we get back at you if you did.
All right. Bye all.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm signing off.
All right.
Everybody.
All right. Good night.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah, for your gatekeeping.
No problem.